Welcome to the Town of Norfolk Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. Let me introduce our board members. I'm Chad Peck. To my left is Chris Montfort. To my right is Gary Searle and Gary Sullivan. Walter will be joining us remotely via Zoom and asked me to be the acting chair this evening since he is remote. Also joining us this evening is our town planner, Richard McCarthy, and administrative assistant, Betsy Fajol. This evening's meeting is hybrid. We are here at Town Hall in person, while others are joining us remotely via Zoom. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, both audio and video, and that some attendees are participating via Zoom. Accordingly, be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured and recorded. With that said, let's get started with our meeting. Our first item is a public hearing for 228 Dedham Street.
And all the members should have received an email today.
Betsy, the meeting is muted for me. I can't hear the meeting.
Do I need to repeat that?
Okay,
There you
Walter,
go.
Can you hear me, Walter? Good. Okay, great.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Do we need to start
No,
from the top?
I don't think so.
He said no. All right, so our first item is a public hearing for 228 Dedham Street, and you said we received an email that they want to continue?
Yeah, they would like to continue tonight's meeting, to the next meeting in November. A couple reasons. One being Phil Paradis, who does normally do our peer reviews for the planning board, is out this week. But also one of the planning board members is not available too, so they would prefer to see if everybody would be available to get into the project. So they request continuance to the November meeting.
Okay. So we need a motion to continue?
So moved. Motion to continue to the 11/8/21 Planning Board meeting at a time of, would it still be 7 o'clock, Betsy?
Yeah, 7 o'clock, please.
Second?
Okay, let's take a vote. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye. And the chair says aye. So we are unanimous.
Excellent.
Should we do a roll call vote today, or?
you probably should, yeah.
Yeah.
'cause,
Since
Yeah,
we got-
since one is remote,
okay.
yeah.
Well, so we all said aye, I heard it, but future we will do a roll call vote. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Our next hearing is not till 7:15.
Yeah, so you do have a little bit of time in between that you can tackle some new old business if you like.
Yes, let's do that. Yes, our next hearing is not till 7:15, so we do have 10 minutes. Rich, do you have a preference on what you want to tackle first?
I'd probably just start with
Just go down the-
the way
okay.
they are listed in the order.
Let's do the Noon Hill Acres subdivision, Redwood Circle. They are requesting a bond reduction.
Correct. So the owner of the subdivision, Dave Dalzell, had contacted the office requesting a bond reduction. DPW went out, did a site inspection, and took a look at what was constructed and what was left to be completed, and provided you a report and a revised cost to complete, which is $39,250. The remaining items to be completed are the landscaping, which, if memory serves me, I think potentially this week they might be out there doing the plantings.
Okay.
And then there's the as-built plans, bound, so forth and so on.
Okay.
You want to, if there aren't any questions, want to entertain the motion to reduce it to the amount?
So I looked at it in the packet you'd sent us electronically.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in here, but that's fine. I did look at it electronically. I did not have any questions. Walter, did you have any questions?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. Gary, Chris?
No, straightforward.
Okay. All right, let's make a motion. I need a motion to move forward with the request for bond reduction from $78,625 to $39,250.
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's go around, do a roll call vote. Walter?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Excellent.
So
Thank
we're
you.
unanimous.
All right. One more time. So the next item on the agenda is request for release of Lot 12A for Norway Farms. I think you recall with the renaming of the, or
11 and
redefine the
11A.
lots, yeah, they have to change. It
Okay,
was originally Lot 12, but now Lot
gotcha.
12A.
Right, because of the, yep, okay. So was there any other,
That was it.
that was it?
That's the only request. Was it in
What's that?
the Lot 12?
Yeah, lot 12A.
Yeah, was it in the pack?
No, I don't see it.
Not in the-
It was in the packet that I emailed.
It was in-
It's not in this packet.
Not in the hard copy,
Okay.
the
Right,
electronic.
and I actually do have I have the lot release form for you guys to sign.
To sign if we approve it, okay.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
pass it
Do
around.
do we have the affordable housing monies in hand, Rich, that we're supposed to have?
So this isn't related to that release, it's the lot, it's releasing the lot within the subdivision.
Yeah, but we've always
We do have-
controlled the release on the basis of them performing to what they promised us in terms of turning over funds for affordable housing.
Yeah, we have that to date, in
Yes.
accordance with the schedule.
Yep.
I'm just reading it.
Yeah, so there is, 20, oh, this is for the open space payment, sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing, but we did get the open space payment for the lot, Walter.
Okay,
So there's $20,000 in the open space account, and this will be the 10th lot that we've released. And I don't,
Let me look at this.
yeah, I believe we are up to date on the affordable housing payment.
okay.
And they have no other outstanding,
No,
Nothing
and
outstanding with the
actually,
town.
they owed us the, funds for the sidewalk account, which we, have received in the amount of $11,100
okay,
for our off-site, sidewalk account.
okay. All right,
I can just look and see.
so Rich is looking just to make sure everything's in order, but, I mean, if they're in good standing and they're all up to date on everything and the affordable housing's all caught up, I mean, I don't see a reason to withhold this.
Right, agreed.
Did you guys have any other comments?
No.
Rich is still looking something up.
Yeah, it would have been on the $20,000, 2,000 per lot, but that would have been.
Yeah, that's for
question
the
I had.
open space, yep, that's for the open space, maintenance account, which I think is being held by the HOA.
Correct.
All
yeah.
right, right.
I just wanna look and see where we're at in terms of the affordable.
Affordable payment. Folder in
Special permit.
here. Always, vote to release the lot contingent upon verification
We could do that.
of the, that the
Affordable.
affordable, housing payments are up to date.
Yeah, so the affordable housing payment schedule is based on sales of homes where. Yeah, if you want, just make it.
Why don't we do
subject
that? Yeah, just
Make it
to,
subject to that, and I'll just
Okay.
email you.
Yeah, we'll just
I know it's up
double
to
check it.
date, but I can't get it to you that
right.
quick.
So looking for a motion to release Lot 12A contingent upon the affordable housing payments being up to date.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Walter?
Aye,
Chris?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that is unanimous, that is approved.
I think we should, Rockwood Road.
got-
Yeah, something like
We've got
7:15.
we've got 4 more minutes.
Well, this is helping your schedule. though.
Right,
Right.
so, Rich, do you want to discuss which
Toils
The
End.
Toils End Farm, Fox Run drain line with Pulte?
Yeah.
I didn't put it in the packet, in the hard copy packet, but you want it?
That's the new language with councils.
Yeah, so I sent you the revised language per council. I do know the correspondence back and forth with Pulte that the lining was done last week.
Sorry.
Just waiting on the video, which should be coming shortly. I was just gonna check with Phil, although he's on vacation, in terms of just how long they need to look at the video. I'll spare you, Bill, actually, but one of the comments from council was in terms of private work, DPW for the review by, we'll put in a date for us to review the video, is in item number 1 on there, which I'll get it back to you in terms of the work completion date is last Thursday at this point, so what was last Thursday?
7th.
7th?
7th was Thursday.
Yeah, 7th.
Friday was the 8th.
Okay, so the work was finished last Thursday, so that will be one of the blanks filled in. The next one, I just want to talk to Beta to figure out how long it'd take to review it. And then discussions earlier today with the chairman was in terms of the agreement that was signed in July had 10 to 12 months. He thought it might be more advisable to have a date as opposed to, that's kind of a big range, so to speak, 10 to 12 months. So considering it was done so it's been done last week, thought maybe August 31st of next year, because that would actually give us enough time to review the video. So you put a placeholder in for acceptance in the fall, get a chance to review the video. The select board will go through their processes to start the road on the acceptance path, and then they'll get to you for you'll have time to make a recommendation or not. And if it's not ready, then we just pull it. But
I think that would be contingent upon how long it takes Beta to review it. If we get it to him by the 31st, I anticipate that shouldn't be a problem.
I wouldn't think it'd be more than a couple weeks. When I talk to Phil, I'll just explain, fill him in terms of the sequence and the timing, and they're pretty fast in turning it around, so.
Right.
So I don't see that being an
And the
issue.
video has been done? That wasn't clear to me.
The video is done. They don't have it yet to give it to
Got it.
us, but the video has been done. So I'm expecting maybe this week.
Okay.
That's not a milestone, at least for today, but at least.
No,
they have it.
Yep.
So they completed the linings last Thursday, they videoed everything, they're gonna get that to Beta,
Yep.
then Phil can review it, then we had requested them to do another video.
Second video, next year,
And we'd request that, say, in August,
August.
and receive, so did you want to receive the video by no later than the 31st?
Yes.
Or, okay,
So then we would discuss it in our September meeting, and then it would be on the fall town.
Yeah, we might, so see September.
As a
I
little
think it depends
close,
on
right?
how much time Phil needs.
Yeah, that might be a little,
And
maybe
almost-
I'll go a little bit before that,
Yeah.
in the end of August, just to give Phil enough time to look at it, so that way by your first meeting in September.
Right.
Because I don't know what the calendar of September looks like, but, so maybe just a week prior to the end of the month.
Okay.
That might
And then
be-
we'd put it on, as a placeholder, we put
As
it
a
on the
placeholder,
town
correct.
warrant
Yep.
for fall meeting. And if everything comes back, then we'll approve it. If everything comes back successful, we'll approve it.
I assume the players that are involved are the same each time it gets scoped. So the same group that slides the scope down, did the original work, did it the second time, did it the third time, and that it's Beta that reviews the data each time and gives us a report. Is that correct?
It is Beta that does it each time.
It's the same
Yeah,
person
I'm
that scopes it.
presuming that in situ has the same people doing the video, not a different company.
All right. 'Cause they
They're the
actually
ones that do the video.
compare, because they're looking at distance from where they enter, and we're 20 feet in, and here's what we saw last time, here's what we see this time, right? Because at some point, I assume it all looks the same, right? So you need to know by distance. what
Oh, no,
you-
they provide the distance when they run the pipe
Yeah.
through the length, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they know, the video is recorded
Yep.
with stations so that we know
Yep.
where it is. And I believe the same company does the video too, so it's not a,
Good.
different
Okay.
company. I can confirm that, but that's what I understand.
Okay.
But so in terms of next year, I probably would say maybe the 22nd, week of the 22nd in August, probably be a better time.
Then that gives them 3 to 4 weeks before our next meeting to review it.
Yeah, because your meeting will be September 13th,
Okay.
so I would think that would certainly, what I'll do is, I'll firm that all up, these are all tentative dates, and then just email you back, but I'm just
Okay.
talking out loud.
Yep.
Just
Yeah, because
discussing time.
the end goal is if everything looks good, we want to get it on the warrant
Right.
for next fall.
Right.
And the one thing we did add in here that Pulte wanted was, if in the chance that, there is an issue, that they get an opportunity to correct it, as opposed to just go right to pull the bond to
Okay.
do the work, which I think makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah,
So,
minimal.
yeah.
Okay.
So let's, I think in principle, we have that concept of this language, just got to plug in the dates.
Yeah.
Is there
So,
consensus on this, at least, this written language?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine
Subject
with
to
it.
the dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to make
Yeah.
a motion to
Do
that
we have to
effect?
make a
or-
motion to that, or is?
It wouldn't be terrible, actually, just for the record, and then subject to just filling in the dates and the plan references.
What's the rev level or whatever on that? How do you distinguish
Yeah.
between that language and the previous language?
Yeah, the one in your G drive, let me pull it up. It might be easier on the G drive, because it's the one that's, I don't have it in the rev date, right?
And this is the current language that I saw several emails going back. So Pulte's good with it. DPW is
Correct.
good with it. Okay.
So, yeah, it's just,
Just want to make sure.
doesn't
And
have-
Walter, you've reviewed the language. You're good with it?
I am good with it. Dates notwithstanding.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't, it's not in the footnote, so that's kind of
Maybe you need
I don't
to.
know, maybe,
It's the only one amended by town council?
no.
Looking for the copy of this?
Just trying to narrow it down.
Yeah, what's the file? Does it say Chris Heap on the top? Is that, I don't know. Well, if you want, just give me a second while we're, just,
Do you want to stay this and move to the public hearing? Since we're past time?
No, we just gotta
No, we
vote.
should be able to wrap this up quick. So
so it's, the date on the document title is Draft Norfolk Fox Run Drainage Bond 10-06-21-CH, excuse me, comments, in parentheses, 2.
okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the letter as recently amended by town council, referred to as draft Norfolk 10-06-21-CH, comments, in parentheses, 2.
There you go. That is the document.
Second.
Okay. We will do a roll call vote. Walter?
Subject to the dates being filled in by Rich.
You accept that friendly amendment?
Sure.
Okay. Subject to the dates, but do you accept that? You second it.
Second,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Now we go back.
we go back to our public hearing for 15 Rockwood Road.
So notice is hereby given in accordance with Mass GL Section 40A and the Norfolk zoning bylaws, Section F11. A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 at 7:15 PM in room 124 at the Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass, relative to a site plan application for property located at 15 Rockwood Road in Norfolk, Mass. The applicant, Tyler Tillos of Norfolk, Mass, has applied for a site plan approval because the site does not have a previous site plan approval by the planning board, as was determined during the F11A review process for a proposed retail shop. The property is located in the B1 zoning district, reference Assessor's Map 14, Block 49, Lot 13. The application and plans are available for public inspection on the Town of Norfolk website, http://norfolk.ma.us/boards-committees/planning-board/ or in the office of the Norfolk Planning Board during the hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Thursday.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have the,
Site plan for review.
So we do have the update site. Are you,
yep,
okay. So if you want to, yeah, you can, that's great. You can,
so Rich is, we've got the site plan up on the screen. You should be able to see it on Zoom. Can everybody see that on Zoom? Walter, can you see it?
Yes?
Okay, great.
So what I would, if you could sit at those two chairs, or take the mics,
Yeah,
that way people,
and just please introduce yourself.
I'm Matt Roberts.
yep, it's on.
It's just for the,
It's just for at home.
project into the room, it's just for the cable, so.
And I'm Brandy Roberts.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Thank you. So, you brought the site plans in.
Yeah, so what we had done is circulated the plans of different departments, and there was some commentary that they come in, provide the information on the plan,
It's just one sheet.
which they had done.
You can also see it up on the screen.
What we had done, and if you look through your packet, the applicant submitted a floor plan in terms of the overall building,
Sure.
broken down by the different uses in the space, came up with a parking calculation for the building itself. As was stated in the hearing notice, the project had never had a site plan approval, and so you've had a couple of these since the 2019 site plan bylaw change. The process changed whereby if you don't have a site plan, you need to at least put one on record. So the purpose of this plan is to establish and put it on record. There was already space in the building that we used for commercial purposes, but it never had gone through a site plan permitting process. So that's what this plan is proposing to do.
Okay.
It's, and they could talk more about it, but I think it's really to have a small retail shop in there, correct?
Correct.
Could you give us just an
Could the applicants please describe what type of business they're going to propose?
Sure, absolutely. We're looking at putting in an upscale resale shop. It's called the Blessing Barn. It's one of several that we've been in business with over the last couple of years, and it allows the Blessing Barn to be able to come in, and the proceeds actually will help go back and fund their special projects, which is more so for helping out any of the local crisis centers in the areas that they work with. So we have one in other towns that we are partnering with, that we work with quite regularly, and it seems to be, it works out really well.
Is this a clothing business you're referring to?
It'll be clothing, and it'll also be home goods, retail home goods.
Is it a
Yep.
consignment shop?
It's not a consignment shop where somebody would come in and actually bring things in for us to sell for them. It is where they actually bring in the things specifically from other sites that they have collected specific for this actual look of this retail store.
Okay.
people have donated those goods in other places, I take it?
People have donated those goods in other places, whether it's from Boston proper or from other areas that it gets collected.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it's gonna be, if I understand, it'll be commercial for part of it, and then there'll be residential for part of it as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so there is already, if you look on up on the screen, the bottom portion of it, there is already a paved area that's existing today.
Yep.
The main things that need to be done in terms of striping some spaces, putting in the handicap spot. There's some modifications that need to be done to the building itself to provide handicap access into that retail space.
Okay.
So those are really the overall, I'll call it, improvements, so to speak.
And the storage building, is that new, or is that existing?
No, it's existing. Yeah.
And the retail space isn't changing in size?
No, sir.
500 square feet.
Rich, does the number of parking places comply with our requirements?
It does.
Okay.
And then I was just looking through the emails, looks like we got a comment back from the chief of police about, he was just concerned about sight distance, being in such a close proximity to the railroad crossing. Just noted a concern.
Yeah, he did make that comment. So it's not, you have to be cautious. Sight, I think it's more of a volume too, with proximity
Right.
to the rail station that you have to, the crossing, that's definitely, but there's no modifications to, it is,
Right, I don't see where there would be any modifications, it's just a concern that,
Yeah.
it's so close to the railroad crossing that.
correct.
Were you describing mixed use at first? There was apartments as well planned, or something else
No, I
planned
think,
on the site?
the property was purchased by a group of families, if you will, that form this trust. And I think long-term, they would, if things go well, they would potentially like to take advantage of the mixed-use zoning that we have in town center, but that's a little bit further
Not
down the
part of
road.
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
not this time,
And then
So
there
what
was.
percentage of the building will be occupied by this business, and what percent will be remaining empty for the time being? Roughly speaking, I mean, are we talking half, or are we talking 10%, or what are we talking?
Roughly, it's going to be about a quarter of it will be
About a
retail.
quarter, okay.
And about,
Yeah.
let's say another half will be devoted to residential apartments.
Okay, yeah.
And
And
there's-
the
there's-
last
There's some
last
smaller.
quarter,
Yeah, there's a smaller piece of retail on a different different part of the building, but right now we have no plans to open that up as a retail center.
okay, thank you.
And then are you gonna be utilizing the storage building? It looks like it's in disrepair right now.
No, the storage building is a barn. It's separate from the main building.
Right.
That will not be used.
Okay. Because at some point, if you do decide to use that and fix it up, that would change the parking.
Understood.
Okay.
So as this plan goes, this will be the base plan for which, future changes would be based on.
Right, because they didn't have anything on.
Didn't have
file.
anything
Right.
before, so as we
Good point.
write up, it'll, again, if they change uses, they'll have to go back through the process to make sure it complies, as with the new bylaw, or if, there are modifications to other buildings and so forth.
Okay.
That'll be a part of the record for this site going forward.
Okay.
Do we have any concerns around the existing sign and the fact that it is slated to be replaced? Like, we don't have to review any of that for now, right?
No. Let me see.
Top
It just
right.
says existing sign to be replaced.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about what it's being replaced with at this point in time.
No, not
That
at this
would come
point. They just
later.
have to comply with the sign law.
yeah.
If it doesn't comply, then, they'll have to either change the sign plan or seek to come back before the planning board.
Okay. Anything else, Walter?
No,
Okay. Chris, Gary?
So there's only, just looking at the spaces, there's only 2 spaces allowed for retail?
It's only, well, it's 560
Yeah,
square
I know,
feet,
but
so.
there's, aren't there 2 people working in the store? Or one person comes in at a time, I guess, one person work, it just seems, but you're saying it complies?
It does comply based on the
So you back out of
bylaw.
square footage for retail space, and
Yeah.
that's what dictates?
That's what dictates.
Okay. All right.
Is there, I guess, is there anyone in the public on Zoom or here in person that has a comment? Okay. I guess hearing nothing, we should
You close the
Clo-
public
clo-
hearing.
close the public hearing.
Now have to prepare a decision for the board that you can deliberate and discuss at your next meeting.
So we need 2 motions then, right? We need one to close the meeting. So let's make a
Make a motion to close the public hearing for 15 Rockwood Road.
Second.
we'll do a roll call vote. Walter?
aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And Chad votes aye. So that is unanimous. So the hearing is closed. So now we need another motion to approve the site plans.
Yeah, you can wait till I'll prepare the decision, then you
Yeah,
can vote on that
we-
Okay,
at the next meeting.
we'll do that. Okay,
Yes, you don't have to
So we
take a
will-
motion tonight.
sounds good. So we will wait till next meeting to do our final review and approve the plans.
Yeah, so in terms of process, the written decision I'll prepare now between the next meeting, which is November 8th. And then, once that happens, it gets filed with the clerk's office. Then there's a 20-day appeal period. So the end process would be, well, probably the end of November, actually. So I think there is some work to do in terms of I think to prepare the accessibility, I think. You haven't pulled a permit for that yet, right? Yeah. Okay. So once the decision gets written and then filed with the clerk, I think the building department, I'll double check one, they'd probably be okay to issue the building permit, but you could start the preparation of the application, because that'll take a little bit of time too. All right?
Okay. Well, thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Slipped away.
Yeah, we got more that needs to get back over there.
Is that on, are they on septic, town water, what's over there?
Septic.
Septic.
Just slide it.
So the buffer, the radii shown on the buffer are the septics?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, we have a
7:30.
public hearing, 7:30 public hearing for the fall 2021 town meeting proposed zoning bylaw amendments. Chris, read us in.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 40A of the MGL that the Norfolk Planning Board would hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 12, 2021 at 7:30 PM at the Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, to discuss proposed changes to the Norfolk zoning bylaws, which have been submitted to the warrant for the 11/9/2021 Fall Special Town Meeting. Complete copies of the text of the amendments are available for review on the Town of Norfolk website, www.norfolk.ma.us, or in the Planning Board office during the hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Thursday. The articles are as follows. 1. To see if the Town of Norfolk will vote to amend Section F.9. Sign regulations by amending zoning bylaw F.9.A.2 by adding an exception to F.9.A.2 in bold print or take any action relative thereto. 2. To see if the Town of Norfolk will vote to amend Section D5 Floodplain Wetlands Protection District by deleting the strike-through language and the adding of the new language in bold print. Take any action relative thereto. So you gave us the floodplain first.
Yeah, so we have
Yeah.
two things, the floodplain and then the sign regulations.
Yeah, so you would like, or I'll tackle do the floodplain first?
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
So, I'll start in reverse order. Essentially, I did reach out to some of the neighboring towns, which included Foxborough, Medfield, Rentham, Medway, Franklin, Walpole, and Dover, in terms of what they're doing. So Foxborough got back to me. They did previously amend their floodplain bylaw, and now they gotta go back. So I didn't hear back from the planner, but I'm presuming they made changes before the model bylaw came out, so they need to do it. So they haven't done that as of yet.
So, wait, just pause a second there, Rich. We probably, since this is our public hearing for these, we probably should preface this by, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So
Forget what
why-
I just said. I'll scratch. I'll start from the beginning.
So why are we changing these?
Bad call. Yeah,
Um,
you're right. I should have started
So
from the beginning.
since
All
this
right.
is our,
So-
so
Yes.
So give us a real quick history
Quick
of why,
overview, sure.
why are we looking to change our bylaws?
So the Federal Emergency Management Association had pushed out to all cities and towns and counties that regulate structures within the floodplain.
Yep.
Guidance in terms of making changes to those bylaws to bring things into compliance in terms of, we've seen more flooding and more storm events and so forth, so they wanted to have a little bit tighter purpose sections, a lot of the bylaws, but also some performance standards in those as well. Under the state of Massachusetts, the Department of Conservation and Recreation is the agency that handles management of the floodplain in terms of the bylaws. They had put together a model bylaw that I had presented to the planning board back in the summer, in terms of what needed to be in place. We had already had an existing floodplain bylaw, so the discussion back in August before tonight's public hearing was to remove and replace with a model bylaw versus taking a blended approach, which would be to take what we have, make modifications to that, and add in what we don't have based on the model bylaw. In concert with that, our existing bylaw was sent up to Eric Carlson, who's the project manager for the state on the Department of Conservation, to take a look at our bylaw. And what I had put together for you back in August was kind of two versions. You did vote to recommend going with a blended version if, based on my recommendation. At the time, my recommendation then, and it is today, is that the blended version, I think, would be a little bit easier for the reader in terms of, because in terms of the text of the bylaw, you would see bold, which would represent new changes, and strike through, which would be the old. So you can easily follow along in terms of what changes we need to make in order to make sure that our bylaw complied with the state model bylaw. Our bylaw, the one that's before you, the blended version, was put before Eric Carlson. He agreed with it, although he does one more bite of the apple. So I'm hoping it's a great bite of the apple. There's no more to be done because he's already looked at this once already. So hopefully he can let it go, so to speak. But the version that's before you was reviewed by him, and he gave me his blessing, so it's before you. As well as town council had a chance to take a look at it, and they were fine with the bylaw as well. The principal changes to it is really increasing some of the purpose provisions of it, which we had, several good purposes, and we've added some more that came from the model bylaw. There is a newer provision which requires a permit. It's not a permit that needs to be done through any board, but through a department, within the town of Norfolk. So, as I mentioned to you, we talked about a little bit, so it's that shed, fence, those kind of structures within the floodplain, which I will say can be a little bit more challenging, but DPW has agreed to kind of help me out in terms of if somebody requests for a curb cut permit, that's another way we could potentially track if a driveway is being put in, to monitor to see if somebody's filed for if they need to get a permit because they're in the floodplain. If somebody goes from gravel to pavement, that might be a little bit harder if there's no curb cut involved. But the administration of it within the bylaw is with the conservation agent, and the thought process there being most work within the floodplain is jurisdictional to the Conservation Commission. So more likely than not, they would be aware of a filing that would require a permit. So there's kind of a natural connection between the two in that regard. So having the agent be involved with that permit that may be needed for a fence or a shed and so forth makes sense to do. At least that's kind of logic we have behind that. I am going to review it tomorrow night with the Conservation Commission, so they're just aware of it in terms of, there will be an added responsibility in terms of on the agent, so we'll have to monitor that to see whether that has an uptick in the amount of work and so forth. I don't know the answer to that question yet.
And if I'm recalling correctly, there's a cost to doing nothing. You lose potential funding or grants.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get there yet. Yes, I'll get there. So in terms of the why we need to do that, we do need to do this because if we don't do this, we will be removed from the National Flood Insurance Program, which would be financially devastating to people who have to have flood insurance. I don't have an absolute answer. I've posed the question in terms of if we don't do this, is there a penalty in terms of the town get reimbursed for storm events and so forth if we're not participating in changing the bylaw? I don't have an answer for you tonight. The fellow who I've been communicating has been out on vacation, so I'm hoping. At minimum, I have an answer by, I should have an answer by town meeting for sure by then, but maybe even by next Tuesday. I don't know. Is it on the select board's meeting? Like Tuesday? Well, I think it is actually, because they're talking about the warrant. So maybe I get an answer for Tuesday night. But I can tell you that it would impact property owners who are within the floodplain. DPW was gracious enough after I did meet with the advisory board last Wednesday night, put together analysis which I sent to you, trying to quantify the amount of properties, and I think the number will end up being about 31 structures within the floodplain.
That's it?
Yeah, and then there's some that are
31 structures.
structures.
It could impact more properties that just don't have structures.
Yeah. So
So
in
it's
terms
not-
of if you, in terms of,
I thought it was massive.
no, it's not a large number, but in terms of the overall dwelling units in Norfolk, there's 3,612. So just to kind of put it in context a little bit. So it's 1%, but for those 1%, it's significant. So,
Right.
so for the most part, most people won't be affected necessarily by the bylaw change. There is a change in terms of the date of the maps that are referenced in there, and what had happened was one Norfolk community floodplain maps did change already this past summer, so the whole Norfolk County maps have changed, but that's not our final map change. That's coming. There'll be a letter coming from the state as far as floodplain changes. They've already had hearings, and those have been vetted by different
So when you
agencies.
said Norfolk community, it was Norfolk, there was a
The
change
Norfolk
in the
County.
Norfolk County, not
Norfolk
our
County.
town.
Yeah,
Okay,
not Norfolk,
okay.
correct, sorry.
Yep.
But there will be another update floodplain map coming out to the end of this year, so we will need to update our map just with a minor change just to reference the new floodplain. But really now, this is really more of the substantive meat to the performance standard and so forth that we need to meet.
So the task at hand right now is, I see it as three options. We could do nothing, but if we do that, that could be very detrimental to the property owners that are in the flood zones. So I would not recommend that, but that is an option. The other option is we could move forward with the template, the boilerplate template that the state provided. And the third option is go with a blended format, which is what you're recommending, because then you can see the cuts and pastes and how it alters what we already had in place.
Yeah, so let me cycle back to our neighboring communities now, since I led off that way. prematurely. So in terms of our neighboring towns, I mentioned Foxborough had made a change last year. I didn't get more detail, but I do know that they need to go back and amend their floodplain bylaw, so I suspect they made changes before this model came out. So they'll need to make changes to comply with it. Medfield is taking from what Medway had done earlier this year, is taking their version. Likewise, Franklin's doing the same thing, but theirs is very, I can forward to you afterwards, you can see it's not, it's very, very similar to what we have now with the blended version.
So they didn't go with the model template.
No.
They went with a modified version, like.
Yeah, everybody has done
Blended.
some kind of modified version of it, they didn't go with the clean.
And to my understanding, we've already proposed the blended version for the
Yeah.
town warrant, so that portion's already been
Yeah,
settled.
but the question, I know, well, I think you had asked the question at one, so I'm just following up.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
yeah, so I just
what
wanted,
did the other towns do, yeah.
yeah, just for edit, for your knowledge.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do remember that question coming up at our last time.
Yeah.
My question about the proposed language that we have on here, we do mention the conservation agent as the,
Floodplain administrator.
right. We don't talk about failure to get a permit and who the agent of,
So the enforcement is through the building department.
okay.
Yeah, so they would be the overall enforcement mechanism.
Is that referenced in here? Or does it need to be?
Not in this section of the bylaw, but that's in the general regulation section,
Okay.
the enforcement agent.
And then we don't need to speak to the pricing of the permit or not to exceed price or anything similar?
I believe that would be in another portion.
Rich, I have a question when you get around to it.
Sure. Yeah, this is actually this was the pricing that was in the model bylaw.
Where is it?
Which,
So on page 5, so pricing in terms of the coverage, you mean, or?
D5, D1?
Yeah, D5, D1. So I just pulled from,
This is around the premiums for the flooding insurance, not necessarily the permit.
yeah, we haven't developed the permit fee for if you just need a permit within the flood. No, we haven't
Okay.
developed.
And that
the
doesn't
fee.
have to be spoken to
No.
in the bylaw here.
No, that could be separate.
Okay,
okay.
that's my question.
Generally, we try to avoid fees and bylaws.
Okay.
Okay, Walter, what's your question?
Well, Rich said that there were identified 31 structures and a number of other pieces of property that are now included in the new floodplain map. I think that, and also that the bylaw as offered by the state and now incorporated in our blended proposal places certain requirements on those property owners that they did not have before. Therefore, I think the town has an obligation to craft a letter to those property owners and structure owners to tell them that this bylaw change is coming and they will be affected. And here's a copy of what's being voted on at the town meeting. And if it passes, you will now have to comply with section A, B, C, or whatever it is. Otherwise, how are they going to know that they're supposed to meet these new requirements?
Similar to like in a butters notice, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yes, I
Rich,
will,
what do you think?
I will, I'll circle back with Barry, the DPW, and see if he can give me some help to narrow that down so I can send out something to them. We certainly can attempt to do that, sure.
Yeah, I think it's a responsible thing to do for the people who are affected before they suddenly find themselves with Bob Bullock on their doorstep saying, hey, you don't want to put up a fence, guess what? You got to do this and that and the other thing, and they never knew that they had to do it.
Yeah, so in terms of, right, so it's a fair point. I mean, the tricky part about this is you don't need to get a permit to put up a fence,
Right.
but now
Or
you
a
need
shed.
Maybe I could run an example.
But now you're gonna need you'll need a,
But now you will. So it's
Only if you're
Yeah.
in the subset.
only if you're in, yeah.
Only in the floodplain. No, fair point. I'll work with Barry to see if we can narrow down those property owners. Send them a letter with this bylaw.
Yeah, well, we have maps that show who owns what piece of property, right?
You should be able to pull the GIS information to get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can do that.
And do we need an inventory of anything that would be quote-unquote grandfathered in at this point?
Well, that's a really good, it's grandfathered in.
It's grandfather in. That'd be kind of hard in terms of unless we do an assessment, to know. Which I literally would probably have to be going people's property to.
Yeah, you can't
just
do that.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's a
might be
good
a little bit
question.
too hard. In terms of, I guess on the flip side of it, if we do see a fence or we do see a shed or a driveway, they'll have to help provide some proof that it was grandfathered.
Yeah,
In the flip side of it, if we do see them,
you should be able to, yeah.
yeah, which hopefully they can. I mean, I think,
And do we need any word to the effect of that in the bylaw?
that's grandfather?
Yeah.
No, it's grandfathered by application of the bylaw,
Okay.
so it would be grandfathered. So we would, similar to other provisions in the bylaw, to establish the grandfathering date, we look back into the bylaw,
Okay.
see when it was adopted, then move forward.
So build your sheds, put up your fences.
Right.
Yeah, and pave your driveway, I guess.
Only for those 31.
Provided it's not, conservation. So they could very well need to be before conservation for that stuff too, so. All right, I will try, my best to see if we can get something to them, Walter.
Yep. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, just, what's the frequency around floodplain changes? When was the last time this happened, 10 years ago?
It's
I think at
It's a
the last
while,
meeting
right?
you mentioned it was 10
I think it was
years.
more than that,
Really?
I believe.
FEMA typically updates their maps every 10 years, but they may be so inconsequential to the area that they don't really get adopted or updated.
So we
in our
may
area.
not have been affected for 20 years.
Correct, yeah.
All right, it's not that important.
And there are, there are special occasions where a map will get updated outside that 10-year cycle, but it's pretty rare.
I want to say it was 2012. I think it was 2012. Should know I struck up on
Uh, 2010. Okay. So it was 10 years ago. Okay. Any other questions
No, as
from
far
the
as-
from the audience, from Zoom? I don't see any hands. So, Rich, what are you looking, so obviously we need to close the... Yeah.
Close the public hearing, and then hopefully,
Let's look at one more.
Yeah, we have to do the signs.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we can't close the public hearing yet because we still have to do the sign piece, but regarding the flood, is there anything you need from us tonight?
For you to vote, to recommend.
Okay, so we need to do an official vote.
Yeah. You can do it after.
We can do it
You want to
after
do them all
the-
together? Sure, that's fine.
Let's do them together then. Is that okay? You guys, would you feel comfortable doing both together, or do you want to split them up?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments on the D5 floodplain protection district? Okay. All right, Rich, why don't you give us a quick overview on the F9 sign regulations and what changes
So
you're looking to make?
the F9 sign regulations was put forward with the idea to allow for a municipal sign to be placed that would provide information via more modern signs, so internally, so for example, we don't allow internally illuminated signs within the town of Norfolk. The concept behind it was to allow internally illuminated signs for the town. And the purpose of the town, the purpose would be able to provide messaging to town residents on different town-related events and activities that are going on, as opposed to having the little portable message board that's over here at the roundabout. And the thought being that, the sign code, sign bylaws in Norfolk are more conservative based on, the character and of Norfolk as a whole, community-wide, but also really some of the commercial areas. So internally illuminated sign is kind of a movement towards a little more open, more modern, so to speak, although internally illuminated signs have been around a long time, but that would be a significant change if that type of signage was available to the private sector. The thought being if we did something for the town that served a purpose, but also could also serve a secondary purpose of demonstrating how it could be done and done well, then maybe the rest of the town might be open to the idea. So that was the idea, to provide. Originally, they had the little shelter kiosk over here, which is removed from the sidewalk, so you gotta get in and out of your car. So it's not a great necessarily means of providing communication. The one that I know of that's probably the nearest, but I really call like a first generation, which is similar to a bank, who used to have the temperature and time. The town of Foxborough has one. So it's either by the elementary school or high school. I can't remember which one, but they have one there. That's mounted on a permanent base that I believe the idea here would be something that would be on a fieldstone base that'd be wrapped, to be tastefully done, but it'd be permanent. But also the ability to change copies, so you could change messaging there without having to go out and pull down letters and kind of the instant, the more older version of signage. So to try to bring it, excuse me, a little more sophistication to messaging for this day and age. So that was the idea behind it. I know when I was at the advisory board meeting last Wednesday, although they didn't take a formal vote to recommend, I'm quite confident when they vote tomorrow night, I suspect they won't vote to recommend it. I think, listening to the comments, I think a large part was that if the town could do it, then private business should be able to do it too, which, I understand to a point. But bearing in terms of, the more conservative design focus of everything actually in town is when it comes to, we have the design guidelines now for town center. So those things are kind of are important values for the town. So I understand, where a lot of people might be adamantly opposed to this idea, so it's kind of a mix. I suspect there'll be a mixed response to this, but the thought being is something different to try. I think it's certainly worthy of consideration before town meeting, and maybe have a little dialogue at town meeting on this topic and get the flavor of the town a little bit to see. And maybe it gets approved, maybe it doesn't, but maybe we come back and look at signs as a whole. I know there's certain businesses that would like to see improvements in the sign, but signage is tricky. It's tough. It's not easy to regulate. Design and taste and compliance and so forth. So
Simple things like lumens and hours of operation.
Yeah.
Are we concerned about that at this level, or we're just passing this first?
it can be, yeah.
If you lived right next door to it and you're trying to sleep and someone's got 1,000-watt bulbs in, or however we're gonna rate it.
Yeah, so we do have other provisions that we do regulate that within the sign code, but that, that's a fair point.
But right now, we're just adding an exception to the existing.
Right now, yeah, it's a
Okay.
very simple change
Okay.
as an exception, so
So
based on,
Rich,
yes,
which town department is proposing that we change the sign bylaw?
I think it was a combination of the town administrator and building commissioner, that discussion on the topic.
Okay, do we have an example of what is proposed to be put up? And I presume it's going to be put up on the common there?
Yeah, I don't have anything in terms of an example for you for this evening to, you know.
Or description of
Well,
intent.
okay, fair enough, but I would recommend that an example be provided of what is being proposed if you're going to take it to town meeting. You know,
I think
people,
if,
a picture says 1,000 words. If you can show people what it is you're proposing, it'll go a long way towards getting the bylaw accepted, I think.
no, that's a good comment. I will circle back.
I presume you could change the lettering and the message from remotely from the town hall somewhere. You wouldn't have to go up to the sign and actually make the changes somehow yourself.
Right. No, that's correct. You wouldn't have to do that.
No.
So that's, you know, in part, I think depends how you look at it, either the value of that or the negative side of it. But
How are the current temporary signs that are out there for plowing, where do those fall into the? Because those are out there now,
yeah,
and
They're illuminated.
and, I mean, they're temporary. I mean, it's like a construction, changeable message sign.
it's a good question.
Yeah, I'm just asking a question, I mean.
Is
You
that
know
a
that-
sign, or is that some other formal designation of, some specialty temporary sign? This is more of a less of a temporary thing, and I like the idea because
Yeah.
communication with the town's important. How many people did we have show up to last town meeting? 7?
Right.
Maybe 90,
Right.
but still, it's really low. So if we could find avenues by which to better communicate, more effectively communicate to people, even if it's reminding them as they pass through
Yeah,
town center. like, oh my
just to
goodness.
complete, total reminder, town meeting on this day, or.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's great. My only issue is it's an exception. You know, rules for me, rules for thee and not for me kind of a mentality is something that I have a hard time with. You know, if we're going to do it and we're going to set an example, it should be something that we're, you know, providing and allowing others to do as well.
Sure.
I agree. I mean, it is a.
No, I take the other side of that from a government point of view. There are certain things government is authorized to do that the citizenry is not. And this could be one of them. I mean, we're trying to get a government message out there as opposed to a commercial message. I could argue that it's certainly legitimate to allow the government to do that and not allow the citizenry to do it.
I think with many things, you know, depends on the intent, absolutely. And I think, you know, the intent of providing information shouldn't be one that should be removed from the citizens' hands.
Okay,
And
appears to disagree.
I will, I think let me get back to you on an answer relative to the sign that's out there. I don't want to impugn the signs that are out there right now.
That's fine, you
I'll
don't.
give you,
So then are we at risk
Solid
if we
answer.
divorce these two now, vote on the floodplain issue, and then readdress this in the next meeting?
so,
Or do we have to readdress
No,
both of them?
yeah, you do need to address them because we'll need to.
We can
do-
split them up.
Yeah, no, they.
We can
they're not-
definitely split up the
Yes.
vote, but we can't, if we decide to table the sign discussion for another meeting, it won't make it to the warrant. Or it'll have to get pulled from the warrant.
Yeah, you could so you. if
We
you
could
want, you can take a
recommend-
vote to IP it.
Okay.
You wanna do that? That's so you can maybe get some additional information that you're asking about, some better examples. And, like I said, I think it was a concept and an idea to approach the topic, to bring it out for discussion. It's not an absolute must, so I wouldn't
I don't want to force the issue. Is-
No, of course not.
I think that there's, I think that we still need to discuss that, and we need to fully vet the content of this and the ramifications of that, because, Gary brought up something about lumens and
Hours of
hours of
operation.
operation, and so I think that we need to do a little bit more research and have some further discussions on it.
And to Walter's point, even just understanding the intent of use by the town going forward, if there is
Right.
an example, that'd be amazing to be able to see and understand.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of hands up on Zoom.
It must be, I think Blythe is first.
Donna Jones.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Blythe.
How are you? So it's just a little bit more, if I can add to all of the conversation. The temporary signs that we use right now were originally purchased, and their intent is really for more emergency use, not to be a sign billboard about whether there's an election or a town meeting or something like that. And it's time consuming and to take them out, change them, move them around. So they're not terribly practical, and you have really limited where you can put them to make sure you don't have any site issues. So I just sent a copy, a picture of one to Rich that is in Westboro where I live, which they use at a T intersection downtown to have a loop of all different kinds of just general information for snowplow drivers, or town meeting is Tuesday at the middle school, to people in the Rotary have the right of way, which might actually be an important one in Norfolk. And they just, all kinds of things that people should just be aware of. And I happened to be coming home late from the airport last night. It was illuminated at night, but in our town, it's not in a residential neighborhood, so I don't think that the lighting is maybe as big an issue. I would agree with one of the things that Rich said, which is, we think it would be a better solution to getting word out, but we certainly understand people's feelings about, gee, if we, is this only for government? What does it mean for signs overall for the community? And putting it out there, even if it only gets just discussed at town meeting, might really help us all come to understand whether this is something we should pursue, or maybe the bylaws about signs need to be changed more, or this is something absolutely the town doesn't want and it was an idea and thank you, but let's move on to a different topic. So I just wanted to give you that thought. I mean, we don't have a location for it. We don't have a budget for it. It was more a matter of, is this something the town would like to move to in order to help people get information as they're driving through? Or is it not the right time for Norfolk? Either answer is okay. We just thought it was one to put forward to everybody to discuss.
So Blythe, in your community where you live, is it just for the town, or can anybody put something up there?
My impression is it's just for the town, because all the announcements I've seen as I drive through there on the weekend are about town-related information.
And so if we did something to that effect here, how would we treat events like the Norfolk Lions put on Community Day, or the haunted car crawl that's coming on? Would that be considered a town event advertisable by the town government, or is that more of a community event put on by the community that wouldn't get advertised to them?
That's always the delicate balance that for instance, we deal with that with the website. People might like us to put things on our website, but the website is town paid for town information. I think we'd have to debate that, but my thought would be perhaps we'll just use the website calendar for things like that, unless it's somehow got a town link to it.
I mean, I definitely think it's worth opening the discussion and having the conversation. I think that, just more communication is beneficial. So,
Concise, direct communication.
there you go.
That
Yes,
can't get.
absolutely.
Right. Right. All right. The next question, we had a question from Donna.
Donna Jones, North Street. Decades ago, Linda's Variety Store on Main Street had a neon sign and it caught fire. I believe this is when the no internally lit signs went into effect. I've noticed that 4 convenience stores have the state lottery status on all the time. They may not be neon anymore, but it's an internally lit, always on sign. The downtown gas station prices are internally lit and very bright in the dark. I think that the internally lit sign is reasonable. Even something like the food and the sandwich places, when you drive up and there's the sign that they're not internally lit. Oh, you have to put a spotlight on it. Open the Subway shop and they internally, you can't have the light behind the sign. You got to light it elsewhere. I was like, but how does the TV screen fit into that? Are they breaking the law with that? How does our flashing stop signs and speed signs fall into that? Speed limits. Are we breaking our own law right now? So I'd love to see some changes made. I would approve the proposal as presented and look for more changes later. Regarding the lumens, I do know one person on a corner that has the flashing stop sign that put up a fence because it was too bright. And you can be several hundred feet away and you're still seeing the flash.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Donna. Yeah, those are some valid points.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, her point is great, the flashing stop sign,
Yeah.
you know, in one sense it's to alert motorists and then, but to you, if you live near, it's a nuisance, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be a lifesaver, another, to you, the same person, yes. So these are hard issues, so you can separate them too, if you want. So I don't know, is there anybody else?
Donna, you still have your hand up. Do you have another question?
Nope.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Haven't used Zoom in a while.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me know.
Yep. Is there any other discussion on Zoom in the room by the board? Okay. I think it would be beneficial to split these and then vote on them separately.
I think that's a very good idea.
Yep. Okay. So let's do the first item.
Yeah.
We have to vote to close them.
Okay. So we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing for the fall 2021 town meeting, proposed by zoning bylaw amendments for the floodplain protection district and sign regulations.
Second.
Second.
Okay. We will do a roll call vote. Walter?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And Chad votes aye. So we are unanimous on closing the public hearing. So now we need a motion to submit the...
Recommend?
to
Or not
I'm
recommend?
sorry. So we need a motion to recommend the blended bylaw changes as proposed for D5 floodplain protection district.
So moved.
Second.
And we'll do a roll call vote. Walter?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And Chad votes aye. So that is...
We need one for the
Yep.
sign.
So now we need a recommendation to submit the changes for the F9 sign regulations as noted in, is there a date on this?
I don't think there's
Okay, there is no date,
No,
but
there's no date. As
Okay.
recommended by
As-
the building commissioner.
as recommended by the building commissioner. There we go.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Walter?
Aye.
Chris?
Opposed?
Gary?
Aye.
And Chad? I vote aye. So we have 3-1. So did we need well, you have what, I don't know if it was a supermajority or a majority you need for that, but,
No, just majority.
okay, all right.
Well, that's fine.
All
That's
right.
sufficient. Thank you.
So,
Now, that's a close on that matter. Now we get to,
7:45? No, we got 5 minutes.
Yep. So we now have the 7:45 public hearing for 33 Medway Branch DPW salt shed site plan and special permit. Chris will read that into the record to open the public meeting.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with Mass GL Section 40A and the Norfolk zoning bylaws Section F.11. A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 at 7:45 PM in room 124 at the Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. Relative to a site plan application for property located at 33 Medway Branch in Norfolk, Mass. The applicant, the Town of Norfolk DPW of Norfolk, Mass. has applied for site plan approval to remove the existing salt shed and install a new salt shed along with associated grading, paving, and fencing. The applicant has also requested a special permit for reduction of parking under zoning bylaws Section F7A. The property is located in the R1 zoning district, referencing Assessor's Map 9, Block 36, Lot 15. The application and plans are available for public inspection on the Town of Norfolk website, http://norfolk.ma.us/boards-committees/planning-board, or in the office of the Norfolk Planning Board during the hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursday, sorry.
all right, so we have Bill Buckley from Bay Colony Group here in the room, representing the Town of Norfolk DPW Department. And then we have the Director, Blair Crane, joining us via Zoom. Assistant Director, Barry LaRiviera. We have 2 things in? Okay, he's on there, and then, of course, Blythe was on there before, so.
Yep.
And then obviously, I'm sure we have people online and in the room for this project. So I'll turn it over to Bill, if you will.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Buckley, and I work for Bay Colony Group, and I'm here representing the applicant, the Town of Norfolk. And as the chairman read, this is for a site plan special permit for the replacement of the existing salt shed at 33 Medway Branch, which is the existing DPW yard. I'm at the end of the road, on the south side of the road. So, Betsy, if you could put up that picture, the 61.
I'm sorry, too, I should have said. Bill, you can come up to the, I should have done this earlier, my apologies. So Bill McGrath from the data group is here.
It's the first,
The aerial?
the aerial, the one that says 60 scale on it.
You just got promoted.
So for the,
There's a little arrow next to where it says AutoCAD. To the left.
Down? Yep, right there.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think we're gonna have to go back to our 2-monitor system here.
Yeah,
It's
this
not,
isn't working very, I already emailed IT, told them we wanted the second monitor back. Sorry, Blythe, I know you don't like the second monitor.
Maybe if you can make Max that
Yeah,
up
Max, yeah.
Where am I, Bill?
up there. So this is it's an aerial photograph which we've overlaid onto the, using the property line. So again, this is a 10-acre parcel of land. It's the existing DPW yard, which consists of about a 15,000 square foot garage and office building. In this area here, this is the existing salt shed, about 3,000 square feet. This is a refuel facility in this area here, and there's parking around the outside of the building. This area over here is for the most part just outside storage. Looks like connexes, piles of material, and then there's, as you can see, it's mostly piles of material. This is woods down here. So you can see we're surrounded by single-family residence. This is an R1 zone. So we have Barnstable Road over here on the southeast. This is Wellfleet to the southwest. And then there are also homes up here on the northwest, which I don't know the name of the street they're on. And on the other side is the old, I think this is the closed landfill, and over here is the transfer station. Kind of an old picture, it doesn't show much of it. So the existing facility, again, is right in this area here. It's reached the end of its useful life. It's, as I stated, it's about 3,000 square feet. It's too small, really, for the town size right now. It doesn't hold the volume necessary. It's not tall enough. What that means is when the larger trailers come in to drop off the salt, they cannot pull into the facility to dump their loads. So what happens is they end up dumping their loads out here in the back, because the entrance is in this area here. The reason for that is because of the wind direction. I'm sure that will come up later, but the entrance is right here. So they dump it out right here, and what they have to do is bucket it into the facility. So it's a front-end loader, beep, 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 back up, go forward, back up, go forward, instead of a vehicle being able to pull in. So that's one of the issues. The doorway is too small. And then right here, there's a ramp. And you can just see what happens is the dump trucks or the sanding trucks come in this area here. This ramp's about 3 or 4 feet high. And so the loader comes over, dumps it into there, and it goes on its way. The problem is this is a ramp too. So no problem today as we're sitting here because it's nice and dry, but in the middle of winter when it's icy and stuff, it becomes an issue. So one of the things we'll be doing is raising that grade maybe 2 feet in order to flatten that out and improve the situation. Go to the other aerial, please, Betsy. I should mention that we've had several meetings. We've had an informal meeting with the town's professional staff. We came and talked to the board about a month ago just to give you a very quick overview of where we're coming from. And then we had a meeting again with some of the professional staff this morning, as well as with Bill McGrath with Beta, to go over some of the comments and questions. Maybe if you can flip that. Flip that rather. Perfect. So this is what we're proposing here. Again, this is the same area. We just zoomed in on it a little bit. So you can see the existing salt shed. This shed is about 50% bigger. It goes from about 3,000 square feet to almost 4,500 square feet. It's about 5 feet taller. It has that larger door that we were talking about. One of the things that the DPW has told us to do, and not a requirement, but it was from the very beginning of the project, they wanted to mitigate the existing condition as well as any proposed condition, although it should be important to note that there's really no increase. I mean, the number of trucks coming is the number of trucks coming to dump salt. There's not going to be it's not going to decrease the number of trucks. What we hope is that it decreases the unscheduled trucks. So all of a sudden you're running out of salt at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. You can plan better if you have a higher volume. But you can see this is a salt shed. It gets no closer to the south property line. As I was discussing, Wellfleet is down here, and maybe we can, if you can move that up a little bit, that'd be great. Perfect. That's great. So this is it. So you can see we've no further down here. We're going a little bit to the left and a little bit to the up, so the north and west. That's how the expansion will take place. Down along here, a site plan was done in about 2002 for an expansion of the existing facility, actually this different color thing. And one of the things they did is, one of the requirements that the planning board put on there was to plant a row of pine trees, or some type of pine, I don't know if it was arborvitae or what. So what we're proposing to do is to pick it up at that point where they end, and then going about 144 feet along it. And the reason we picked that distance and we do this configuration, two reasons, is we're not clearing anything to put this up. This is already cleared, and I think you can see down here, this area is already cleared. There's actually a pile of material right here. So that is not being cleared, but we're gonna, so there's no decrease in the amount of vegetation next to the property line. This will be about 10 feet high, about 144 feet long. And the way vehicles would come in come in like this. I'm talking about the big vehicles now. Would come in, pull in, back in, pull out, out. And you can see what we're trying to do is block any of the lights or noise, of course, but that really is not directional like that. So by coming in like that, we're trying to block any light or visual going toward any of the homes that are our neighbors. We're also doing some stormwater management, and it's kind of hard to see here. But what we're doing is we're going to add maybe 600 square feet of additional paving down here in order to get at least 100 feet of pavement, so when the truck pulls in, it pulls in. And that's actually pretty tight. Nowadays, when you're doing warehouses, they want 180 feet, big things. So this is tight, and we're trying to keep it tight for that reason. But there is some additional pavement, so what we're doing is we're making some stormwater management down in this area with a rain garden. The building roof will be captured by, and I didn't mention it, I'll show it to you in a minute. There is, this building will be it's a tubular steel building with a fabric cover. So it's the ones you see in every DPW yard forever. So it's a tubular steel with a fabric. So it doesn't have gutters, it doesn't have downspouts. So really the only way to capture runoff from it is to put some type of stone trench on either side of it. And that's what we're proposing on this particular design, is to capture the runoff coming off of either side of the new building and infiltrate it into the ground. The soils up here are excellent, really good, deep water table, very pervious, so that's a good thing here. So there is some improvement in stormwater. I mean, we're not going throughout the site to try and make everything better, but we are working in the area where there is an improvement. As we mentioned in our cover letter, we're asking for several waivers. And the waivers are, we're asking, the regulation requires us to do a topographic survey of the entire parcel. So we're asking for the board to waive that and just allow us to do a topographic survey in the area where we're working. And what we did with the rest of the site is we took I'm going to say LiDAR, and I don't know what it means, but it's like an aerial topo that you can pull off of the USGS or the state. And so we use that for the rest of the site, but the area we're working, we did a topographic survey on. We're asked the board to waive the required amount of parking. Again, this is not an increase. We're not, we're really, it's not going to change anything. They're not going to add any people. So the existing parking is adequate. And I think back in 2002, the board waived the parking requirement back then. So we're not changing the parking. All the parking is down in this area here and along the back of the building. We've asked the board to waive the requirement for a lighting photometric plan for the entire site. Again, we're not doing anything down there. There'll be one light on this building in here, which will illuminate the door. It'll be an LED. It'll be pointed down, so it'll be minimal light. And then we asked the board to waive the requirement for traffic congestion control and analysis. Again, as I mentioned, there won't be any increase in traffic. We're just kind of improving the site. The amount of salt coming in is the amount of salt coming in. The amount leaving is the amount leaving. None of that will change. So we believe that those waivers are appropriate based on the limited scope of the project. We went over the comments that were received from Beta today. We went over with Bill, Blair, Barry, myself, Richard. And so some of the items, I think all of them are certainly work throughable. A lot of them are engineering stuff, which is wicked boring. I mean, we can go through all of that if you're interested. But I want to touch on some of the things that I think that the board would be, we should probably have a discussion on, or you think about. One of the comments was made was, perhaps we should do a sound study on this. My response to that is basically what I've already told you, is that we're not changing the use. It's going to be the same, and in a qualitative sense, we are going to improve it because now we will not need to be bucketing salt into this facility. We'll be able to dump it. So at least that sound is going to be removed from the current operation. And again, the barrier we're putting up, it's the same type of barrier you'd see on some highways, although a lot of them now are concrete. But back in the day, you see most of them were wood, and that's what these are: 12-inch planks, 2-inch thick wood barrier that will also mitigate sound. So I think that's an improvement. I'm not sure what a sound study would tell us. I'm not sure what it would tell us. We know that we're going to improve the existing condition. It's not a new condition. We were talking about erosion control on the site. As you saw earlier, this thing's right in the middle of a 10-acre site. There's nothing around it. Erosion is not going to leave the site. Typically, you're trying to protect a wetland or some type of resource area or your neighbor. In this particular case, we're not, but what we discussed was making sure that the rain garden area, which is down here, is protected during construction, because those things can easily clog if they're not protected during construction. So we will do that. Some drainage issues. Again, we talked about that. There was no change. I think what we decided, Bill can jump in at any point, no change in the concept. Concept is sound. But what we want to do is fine-tune some of these things and maybe some additional documentation in order to make sure we're checking all the boxes on that for the DEP stormwater regulations. So I think I've talked myself off.
The structure is 5 feet taller.
Yes.
And are there lights on the top of the structure?
No, just at the entrance.
What lights do the truck drivers use if they're coming in at night? What's lit up back there? Just their own lights on the trucks?
I think for operational stuff, we should probably ask Blair, and he can answer that question.
Yeah, there will be a light over the main door, which will shine down to make sure that they don't back into any structure, but that entire end of the building is wide open. The current building has a door that you have to back through. It has barn doors that slide to either side, whereas this new building will be totally open on one end. So the downward light should provide enough illumination there. And obviously trucks themselves have reverse lights, so there shouldn't be any illumination problems at night. And hopefully with the added capacity, the amount of salt that we'll be able to bring in during the day and the ease of it, not having to bucket in with a loader. If a truck can just back in and dump his entire load and get out of there, you're talking about 5 to 7 minutes and very little handling. So the onus here was to try to get as much salt in during the daytime hours so that we don't disturb anybody.
Okay, so there is a light at the top? Is that what you just said? So there is a light.
Over the entrance.
So the added height with the light doesn't affect the neighbors that back up onto the property? The trees that are existing are sufficient to block whatever?
There's at least 30 feet on our side of the property, and I don't know what the distance is.
Okay.
It's a substantial amount.
The added 5 feet didn't bring it above tree height?
No.
Okay.
No.
And the topography of the property is such that what happens if there's any runoff? Does the salt ever contact rainwater, snow, runoff, and is anything going in the direction? I assume not, only because no trees have been affected in all this time, so.
But the direction of flow is this way. See the contours, so it's
Yep.
perpendicular to that. So if anything, it did get out of there, it goes that way onto our property. It stays in that area there.
Okay.
But really, it shouldn't. It should just be covered. That's, the salt shed.
And the design of the pad being that it's level will minimize the amount of salt that falls out of the loader bucket. And between scooping up a bucket and dumping it into the truck to be used. So the flatness of that pad itself certainly helps mitigate that.
Concrete pad,
No asphalt.
asphalt.
How long do you think it'd take to construct this?
Depending on whether or not we can actually get it, I would say from start to finish, 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay, 8 to 10 weeks, that would be, what do you, I guess, what are you gonna do with the salt that's in there during construction, or are you making sure it's all gone prior to that?
Exactly. So when we get into late February, March, we will tap dance and try to make it as empty as possible, and with any luck, be out of salt at the end of the year. The construction wouldn't start obviously till after the winter season was over.
Now, around the request to not do a sound study, my concerns around the material that's being used. Wood's a reflective material, not absorptive. I would highly recommend and suggest an acoustical study do be performed just to understand the impact of the reflective material that you're choosing to use as a barrier and any effects it would have. If we were choosing to do something different with a different material, I think I'd have a different thought process there, though.
Are you concerned that it's going to reflect toward the neighbors?
Not necessarily towards the neighbors, but it might amplify and create an echo effect. There's a structure in front of it that's got a cavern that, what's the material? You said rolled?
It's tubular steel.
Tubular
and then
steel.
it's
The fabric. So the
cover.
fabric might not be too much of a concern, but, it just without the understanding completely, my concern's really around just the fact that the wood's reflective. It's not absorbing the sound. If anything, it's just bouncing it back into the area. So there's a possible for an echo to be made and for it to be reverberating at a higher pitch, which would increase the noise that's being generated as opposed to resolving the issue of noise in the area.
So you think that it would make it worse than it is today?
It could possibly, yes.
What if we planted plantings in front of the wood barrier?
That would definitely help, yes.
Yeah, I think that would probably mitigate the concern with, you've got your
The trees
noise
are more
wall for-
absorptive, they're
yeah.
refractoring the sound as it's bouncing towards that direction, absolutely.
They're blocking, but the barrier is blocking the light, which
Right.
I'm sure is,
Right.
which the trees will do, but not as efficiently.
Right, exactly.
So would that be an acceptable alternative?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
No, I had a different question about traffic congestion, only because during transfer station hours, say there's a snowstorm. And I didn't know if that should be considered at all and why and I don't know the last time when there was ever a traffic study done in that area. And the only thing that is at risk is when transfer station is operating normally. People are lined up there before the station opens up. If trucks are coming, I don't know. We could almost do it on a piece of paper, see if it's going to be a problem and how we might eliminate the problem. But something could happen there.
Right, but I think, so when I hear the word traffic study, 2 words, what do traffic guys look at? They're looking at speed, they're looking at levels of service, they're looking at the capacity of the road. So I don't think in this case any of those would be an issue. I think what you're talking about, which I agree with you, I can see it. I'm not from Norfolk. Would be an operational issue. So it would be like, how do these guys? How would the DPW professional staff handle these operational issues under these what-if scenarios?
And then I don't know if that changes much based on the size of the salt shed at this point in time. I mean, if we were changing other variables, I would think
May
about
or
it.
may not. And if this is the time when you're creating a new site plan for changes, that things should be evaluated. And I have no idea the last time
Yeah, that's
a
fair.
study was done.
So the
And I
question,
can't say for sure that there have been problems with snowstorms during DPW, during transfer station operation. I'm just saying it could be a consideration.
No, yeah, no.
It's almost a napkin study, or what is the solution going to be if that occurs?
Gary, I can kind of speak to that because I typically order all the salt. So currently we base it on the size of the shed. We try to keep a certain amount in there for all storms. Usually when I place the orders, they're coming in early in the morning so we can get all the piles in there so we can work on them in the day. So typically everything's there by noonish, and then our staff continues working in the day, putting the salt away. Very cognizant of the fact that when the transfer station's open, we don't want big trucks running down the road at the same time as the transfer. So that's all part of what goes into when we do our ordering and do our analysis to make sure we have enough salt on hand.
Okay, with the increase in capacity, can we say that when you're at full capacity, you would not expect a singular snowstorm to exhaust what you have?
Yeah, that's the whole goal right now. Right now, I'm playing a catch-up game. So every time we have a storm, I look at what we use, what we can order, and how fast I can get it. So by having the extra capacity, we're not going to have as many deliveries because we're going to have the volume there to have the extra salt.
Okay, good.
Do we open us up to the converse problem of needing to require multiple deliveries for a full shed as opposed to just one delivery to fill our smaller shed?
It's always been multiple deliveries depending upon what I need. It could be up to 20 trucks. It's usually not 20 trucks in one day. It's 20 trucks over several days because you have to remember the salt companies are trying to give us salt at the same time they're trying to get to everybody else. So it's not really all at once.
Okay.
We'll get maybe 3 or 4 trucks simultaneously. They'll dump, they'll leave, and they got to go back to Boston, load up. So it's a longer process than you would anticipate. Though we try to facilitate it and keep it as tight as we can.
It sounds like you're maintaining a larger buffer.
Yes, and to add to what Barry had said also, this layout with the level pad that the building sets on allows for trailer dump deliveries to be a common practice. With the tight site and the way that we have to dump outside now, a lot of times we get triaxle loads, which are 3/4 of a trailer dump, 25-ton load versus a 35 or 40-ton load. So having this new building on this level pad allows us to overall have less deliveries, which certainly helps everybody involved.
Okay.
There was mention a moment ago of a meeting today between the DPW and the representative, and also Beta. So from the results of that meeting, I'd like to hear from Mr. McGrath as to whether there are a lot of open issues still on the Beta letter, or pretty much all of them are going to be addressed, and the letter can be closed out probably shortly.
Yeah, thank you. Bill McGrath with Beta, filling in for Phil Paradis. So we did have a discussion this morning. We had issued a letter dated October 5th with our comments. I think most of the comments were technical in a lot of respects. There were a number of stormwater comments, but a lot of that is documenting what's proposed with just some additional analysis. Also some additional grading just to confirm that things can be constructed as they're proposed. So yeah, I think most of our comments can be closed out. I think we've had a discussion on how we're going to do that. So I think that will happen. I just add a couple of other things just in terms of the light. Typically, all lights now are cut-off fixtures so that they shine down, they don't shine out. So I think that will probably help address concerns of it shining onto the neighbor's property. And just in terms of the noise barrier, not that I'm an acoustical engineer, but typically the wooden barriers, because of they do tend to reflect sound, are not just straight walls. If you look at them on the highway, they're usually angled and they overlap, and just to help diffuse the sound that way. I think the landscaping idea is a good idea as well. But you probably don't want to have just a straight, long wooden wall. You will probably want to have some angles in it to help diffuse the sound as well.
Yeah, I believe as it was proposed, it was almost a curve, so almost like an Orpheum kind of style, which kind of would reverberate even more so.
But again, just to summarize and answer the question, yeah, I think we'll be able to close out our comments.
Okay, no sticking points that, points of contention.
Nothing significant. Again, I think a lot of it is just documentation and confirmation, but I don't expect any significant changes to come out of that process.
Thank you.
What we did, just to follow up on what Bill had said, the project does require a special permit from the zoning board of appeals as a use. It's a use by special permit in the residential zone. So they have the public hearing scheduled for next Wednesday evening. So the plan was to take commentary from this meeting, that meeting, and then do any revisions that are necessary and provide one update to try to address everything comprehensively in the comments for the November meeting.
Were there any comments from the audience here or on Zoom? Yes. Can you get a microphone? Yeah. And then just state your name and address.
Phil Squitieri, live at 8 Wellfleet Drive, which is directly behind the transfer station. I just had a question. You talked about that barrier. Did I hear that the height was 5 feet high?
10.
It's 10 feet high.
The new building is 5 feet higher than the existing building.
Oh, 5 feet higher. Okay, so it's 10 feet high. And what's the size of the trucks that come in? Is it the height of them?
I don't know. They're regular tractor trailers, I guess. You'd see them, and their lights are the same lights as yours. They have to be angled down, so they're not going to be angled up. If that's what your question is.
So you're confident that the 10 feet high will block the
Yeah,
lights
that's why
and
we
majority of
went
the
that
noise?
instead of a. Am I all right to speak, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's why we went with something like that instead of like a 6-foot vinyl fence, which is what you see a lot of times for barriers or for buffers. We wanted the 10 feet in order to make sure that there was definitely not going to be any direct lights going there, which I'm sure is what's happening today when vehicles come in at night.
Right. You can see some headlights now.
Yes.
So you expect it to be better than it is now?
Much better, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like the topography there is fairly flat, coming from the building to where this proposed
It is.
wall would be.
Yeah, it's about
So if you had a 10-foot wall, your headlights that you're trying to protect are not 10 feet. They're a couple feet off the ground, whatever the standard headlight is on a tractor trailer. Okay.
And those houses on that street are up high. They're actually up high, so the light is here, the barrier's there, and they're up here for the woods, so I think it would be good.
What's the top of this structure compared to the top of the proposed fence?
It'd be, so the structure's 35 feet high, the fence is 10, the fence is probably 2 feet lower, so it will be 32, 24 feet above it.
Okay. And then the light in relation to that?
I don't know, that's a good question, let's see.
You talking about the
It
light over
would
the
be
door?
it would be at the peak, because
So
it's
over the
wide open.
fence?
Yes, but again, as Bill pointed out, you guys have seen them all. They're just little LED lights
right.
shining down.
So is it fair to say that the light that's out there now is not one of the newer lights that shines down? It's just more broadcast, spreads it out? Or,
That's correct.
yeah. Okay. So this new light would be more directional, focused down, not spreading out into everywhere. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have one more question in the room. Hold on, Walter. We'll get to you.
Joanne Squitieri at 8 Wellfleet Drive. I just have a question. So the way it's facing now, the entrance opening of it, it's do because of the wind direction, and that's why it's going to face the same way on the new structure as it's facing now. Is that correct, or?
That's my understanding, yes. Due to the wind direction. It's going to face the exact same way it is now, and the reasoning that I had heard was due to the wind direction.
Right. So it's wide open, there's not a door there, and the wind comes out of that north-northwest, and it would just be a problem if you had an open barrier at that point. And if you move that building, you would be moving it, because you can see how close it is to like the gas docks. You'd be moving the building back 100 feet plus. So you'd have a significant amount of fill. There'd be a lot of earthwork right now. Site's pretty flat. You know, it's been built up over the years. It has the ramp so that, you know, the other vehicles can get in. If that's why this is a good spot, because it's already been there. We're really not moving it. It's oriented correctly. It's slightly bigger. So.
Walter, you had a question?
Yeah, the height of the wooden fence was described as 10 feet. How did that number get arrived at? I mean, if you were to drive out on 128 or Route 95 or whatever and encounter an area where they do have those sound barriers, the height of those barriers is higher than 10 feet. And I know this barrier is intended to be both a light and a sound dampener, if you will. But how about 10 feet? I mean, why not 8 or 12 or 15 or some other number? How did 10 feet get arrived at?
Really, it was just we were trying to make sure that the visual issue was was our major issue with the barrier. It's definitely going to be improving the sound, but in our mind, the sound improvement is due to the operational issue. We don't have to bucket it in. That is going to be the main mitigation for the sound. And we just wanted to make sure that coming in, so it is a little bit higher, as you pointed out. So you're coming into as I pointed out, you're coming in from the lower side as you're looking at that plan, and that is higher than down here. So we didn't want to just have a 6-foot fence and have it pop over. We wanted something high enough that would absolutely catch any light beams from any vehicles. So that was why we went that way. We were initially looking at like 15 feet, but 10 was adequate.
So I mean, effectively, we have an 8-foot tall span of useful space from a light perspective.
If you're looking at a worst-case scenario, which is a truck coming in from right here.
And most trucks are topping out probably about 14 to 16 feet tall, somewhere in that avenue.
I don't know. Is that what it be?
Top of the truck, yeah. You think of the ones getting caught under a bridge.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's.
But the lights aren't up that high.
That's right.
There's definitely lights on cabs for a lot of these trucks, though.
Right, there's lights on cabs, but we also still have a lot of woods. There's a lot of woods. So would you say that you have in your backyard 100 feet of woods, approximately? I know there's 30 feet on our side.
If you don't mind grabbing the mic.
Yeah. So there's a decent buffer here, between the homes. So I'm not sure that those type of lights, you'll definitely see them, just like if you're looking out, you'll see that LED light, but it's not going to be, type of in your face. It's not going to be any illumination onto your property.
It's also true, I think, that there's no barrier there now, correct?
Right.
Right.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no barrier there now, and if this moves forward, the operational issue should improve because, as you said, you won't have to bucket it in. You can get
Bigger trucks.
so you'll have less trips, which would all be beneficial.
Yes.
Yeah.
We think
If I may ask, you live directly behind there. How bad is the light and the sound issue at this point in time? Obviously, you came here out of interest and concern. Are you happy with what you're hearing? Is the light situation drastically poor? Are you looking to move because the lights are so bad, or?
grab a microphone?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we're up higher, so the light really isn't a problem. It's really the noise and the sound, especially when the trucks are backing up very late at night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So that would be the only concern.
When the trucks come in now, you could have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different stations and the headlights just come right in very close. It's kind of a concern.
Okay.
Do you know what type of trees that you'd be planting, or?
I'm going to talk to Richard about it, and we'll see what, the board likes to see. I'm sure, I don't know if you like arborvitaes, white pine, we have to, and I don't know this, I'm definitely not a tree guy. There's still going to be salt in that area, so we need to find something that's salt tolerant. We don't want to build something and have it die.
Right.
So we need to kind of figure that out. But it will be, it's not going to be an oak tree, it'll be some type of
You're
evergreen.
resistant.
We have actually both in our backyard. The arborvitaes are nice.
Are they? Okay, we'll
Like
look at
those
them.
better than the southern pine.
Deer haven't got to your arborvitaes?
Yeah.
The deer haven't got to your arborvitaes?
Yeah.
Need something that's gonna be dense from a foliage
Any
perspective.
other comments from the audience or the board members? Okay. Anything else, Bill? Okay. I don't see any hands raised, and nobody in the room is looking to speak at this time, so I think we are ready to close the public hearing.
No,
Oh, wait,
continue.
I'm sorry. We're going to
Continue to
continue to
November.
next,
Yeah, November
Okay.
8th meeting.
and then we will vote on, okay.
You can move it up in terms of time.
Yep, 7:15.
So it'll be at 7:15, so,
Could I ask,
yes.
Oh, you want to go later?
can I be last? Sorry.
Well, at the moment, you are last, but
Is that not late enough last? Is that what you-
No, I have another hearing that night,
what time is your other hearing?
7:15.
7.
Okay.
But,
Well,
so could you, maybe would,
It's a Monday, right?
yeah, maybe we, and I'm not telling you how to, of course, but maybe if I'm not here yet, of course, I'll zoom in.
go to
You
our-
can just open it and then continue it for
yeah, we can hold off.
a few minutes.
Well, if they're both at 7:15, we probably should make a
Try to make adjustments.
different time, at least start ours.
We're going to try to get here in person, or you're going to zoom in next time?
No, I'm gonna have to zoom in.
Zoom in, okay.
So
So,
what else, actually, we're gonna have, the 228 Dedham Street at 7.
well, I suppose we could do 7:45 again.
We can do that.
That would be
Seven.
great.
7:45?
Fine with us.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So motion to continue the hearing on the 33 Medway Branch DPW salt shed site plan and special permit to the November 8th meeting at 7:45.
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Walter?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So, motion carries. We will continue at the next meeting at 7:45.
So it looks like headlights or altered vehicle headlights can't be higher than 54 inches.
Okay.
Yeah,
Doesn't
lights
look like-
shouldn't be a problem because everything cascades higher, but that's why the noise is a problem.
Right.
Yeah,
Because of the way it's being broadcast from.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's on a slope, it's just
Yeah, the
reverberating
barrier's
back
not
into
gonna
the
help you
area.
for noise.
Right.
No.
So the barrier is going to help with the plantings and,
Yep.
possibly adjusting the orientation of the barrier as well. So
Yeah,
that-
we'll look at that. I mean, I'm not an expert in barriers, but I'll just look at how they do it. Probably staggering like you were talking about.
Yep.
Some angles to capture the sound.
Exactly. Yeah, just to break it up, because if it's all just one, it's,
And prior to our next meeting, you'll review the plans again and provide just a comment that everything's been closed out.
Yeah, exactly. Once we get a written response, we'll review it and any revisions.
okay,
Awesome. Thank you.
great, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so we are at the
Fire station?
8 p.m., the informal presentation of the new fire station.
It's a virtual.
Thank you.
So who's gonna lead the?
I'll start. Good evening. My name is John Lemieux. I'm here with Steve Kirby. We are the owner's project managers that have been hired by the town for your project. With us tonight are also Don Walter and Ron Lemaire from Dorn Whittier. And they have prepared a brief presentation of about 7 or 8 slides to kind of just take you through the first phase of what we're looking at for the feasibility portion, really the initial phase of kicking off the fire station project. So I think, Don,
John. Yep.
over to you.
Rob, do you have that?
So that's actually for the building committee tomorrow night, John. Tonight we were just going to walk through. Tonight we're just going to walk through the idea that we want to come back in November, and that there is, obviously a study that we're doing right now. The first phase of all of this is a study, and we're looking to get some concepts together in November to bring an initial concept thought to the planning board. What we want to do is get a lot of discussion and input from the planning board before we go into schematic design, which would be the beginning of next year.
So more likely December meeting then, you're thinking probably for planning board? Sounds like.
It could be end of November, beginning of December.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. So the,
Question, there is under consideration a possible new small town center sewer system, which has been studied and is not approved yet. Nevertheless, one of the considerations of introducing that new system was the possibility of putting the plant behind the fire station. Are you folks aware of that, and are you considering that in the design of the fire station?
Walter, we're in the process of gathering all of that information, and we're actually having our first full building committee meeting tomorrow evening. So we'll be sure to discuss that item.
Has anyone given you information about it, or is this the first time you've heard about it?
We've actually got a package of information that we're going through, so there's a very good chance we do have that, but not entirely positive right at the moment.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Sure.
is there anything else that, just more of a heads up, right?
So right now, it's just a heads up. You don't have anything like a presentation yet. That would hopefully be at sounds like the December planning board meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we just wanted to notify you that this project has, the study was beginning.
Yep.
And that, we'd like to be on the agenda for either November or December. Maybe the December meeting sounds better. And if you have any comments like what you made about a septic or a sewer project, if there are anything that the board has been thinking about, now would be a great time to just send it over to the whole team so that we have it in front of us and we can talk to the building committee in the town going forward.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I assume that we're kind of handcuffed, right? So we have one location now, and that will be the singular location. We're not considering more than one location for fire department.
For fire. Yeah.
You can jump in on that.
What's that?
I can jump in on that if that's okay.
Yes.
Hi, guys. I'm here tonight with two roles, as town administrator and also as a member of the committee. Just to add a little more color to all this, we're thrilled that Doreen Whittier has joined us. We were very fortunate to have 7 proposals and 5 excellent firms that we interviewed before selecting them. The feasibility study is meant to be one that goes fairly quickly, hopefully ending by the end of December, to prove out whether, what we can do on the current site and whether we are renovating that building and adding on to it in the current location to fulfill the department's needs going forward, or whether we should not renovate that building from what we find and should then replace it again on the same property. We have not given them direction to go look at other properties because what we've learned in this process so far is very likely we can stay on the existing property and achieve the goal that we have. So we have provided them with surveys and the building plans and the work done when we bought the portion of the church property in 2009 next door and clearing it and all that sort of thing. And we'll be, as Don said, kicking off tomorrow night to work with the committee on what the schedule is going to be, what we need to do to get to that end result so that they can make a recommendation to the select board end of December on which direction to go, renovate and expand or replace, and how that could be achieved, what considerations we might have. For instance, will we need temporary facilities while we're doing that, all those sorts of things. And once the select board approves that concept, then they would be directed to go forward to schematic design. So I'm glad that you brought up the sewer study and that location possibly of that building in the back. All this information or feedback is super helpful to all of us to make sure we are very thorough and deliberate in going through all this and coming to a recommendation.
Is the ultimate goal to support the town's need 10 years, 20 years? What guides you?
We've talked about 50. That this is an ideal location in the town for this facility because it is best located to reach all areas of town as quickly as possible. So we really don't want to see it move, but we also want to make sure that when we're done, it's operational and meeting, the whatever, expansion Norfolk is going to have in that time frame and can accommodate the staffing or the equipment that we need.
So would it be safe to say then that the concept would be to hopefully have a facility that could grow with our town?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you've been in the apparatus bay, you know that it's a feat of engineering and science that they get all the trucks in there right now. So it can't be the normal going forward, but what is the right size of an apparatus bay for that future? We have to look at all those things. And our goal is to really move this project along quickly. If we can get through this feasibility and come to a conclusion that people are supportive of, then jumping into schematic design, we'd like to be coming to town meeting next fall for this project if possible. We think that that's possible. It'll be a little bit of diligence on building committee's part, but I think we can get there.
And it may not be a singular build to create a new structure or a modified structure that is 50 years out in design. It may still happen in phases. You're just addressing the 50-year design?
Addressing the 50-year design, I absolutely couldn't begin to guess, because I'm not an architect or an engineer, how the phases will happen, if that's the course of action. But I mean, staying operational is critical. Mm-hmm. And moving is expensive and very, can really put a crimp in how you deliver services. So got to think that all through.
Okay.
Great.
So
Thanks.
it's moved out, it's continued to December?
Yeah, it sounds like from just the discussion that December makes more
When they
sense
would be
because
ready.
it's November 8th.
Too soon.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
so,
if-
no, so December 14th is the December meeting. If you wanted to do a special meeting virtually, that could be done too. It might be easier, something to consider. That's an option too.
Yep.
That's something we have to decide on now, right?
You don't have to
No.
decide now.
Okay.
You can schedule.
So are we just,
Stand by.
yeah, so we're just going to put this on a placeholder for the December meeting? Okay.
Yeah, I'll coordinate with Blythe and owner's project manager to see
Okay.
what works. And they have something to present to you. All right?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
So we're at 8:15, almost 9:15. That's
Yeah.
not too bad.
We've been consistent.
All right, our next item is 7 Hill Street, Pondville Heights.
With one continuance too, boy, huh? Whew. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so in the room, you have Bob Baker and Mark Carroll, who had purchased 7 Hill Street. You probably heard that address plenty of times, the
Yeah.
9 duplex development.
Yep.
They are now the owners. We had a meeting we did a site meeting last week with the building department myself, but for tonight, what we wanted to, they wanted to present to the board in terms of, this is their marketing video in terms of the unit types that they're looking to build, sorry. The site, they're a little bit different from the ones that were previously approved back in 2018, so I wanted to show you what they look like. They also have some materials to get a feel for, while you're not approved, you didn't necessarily approve exact material like brands and so forth, but give you a feel for the type of materials that they'll be using on this project going forward. So that's part of their discussion before you. I did canvass the regs. I think they're looking for your input in terms of name. They like to do a renaming instead of Pondview Heights.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have authority over the name, but it's just some good guidance, and they have some names that are proposed out there to test them, so to speak, a little bit, market analysis. And then in terms of the decision itself, they will be coming back to make a modification for a couple conditions in the permit. One is this will be an ownership project. The original permit in 2018 was for rental, so they have to prepare home, HOA docs to make sure, have those reviewed by the board. There's time for that. Those need to be set by occupancy, but to make you be aware of it. Another thing they would like to seek modification to in the decision would be condition number 29, which relates to the occupancy permit, which right now requires, full occupancy in order to sell off a unit. They would like to do something similar to what we've done with not necessarily planning board projects, but more the ZBA, where so many, units are allowed to be sold off till final completion of the project. So, to have a schedule. So, for example, maybe 14 have to be, 5 left need to be done, something like that. So, when it comes time to get the occupancy permits, they can sell off the units. And some things make sense to hold off on, but, have security arrangement. I think what we have done in terms of the zoning board to look for guidance is holding back some, and maybe there's some surety held, they could put up a bond or something like that. We can figure that out. But I'm just to
That's
let you,
related to the affordable unit?
No, the development itself. The development itself. And
We
then,
also have a note in here about the affordable.
yeah, and then the last is, they're looking to delay the delivery of the affordable unit. Right now, the special permit, is prior to the 9th dwelling unit. They are gonna be creating a unit on site, but they would like to push that date out a little bit further, than the 9th occupancy permit. So they're gonna be seeking a modification. They'd like to get so that will require a public hearing to change that. So I would need to get that advertised and so forth, but, the Affordable Housing Trust Director, Sue Jacobson, is gonna talk to the trust at their next meeting, which is next Tuesday, about it. So I think what makes sense is, if you don't mind, we'll have them discuss it, and then they can maybe provide some guidance to the board, and then you can consider it, before we schedule anything yet, but knowing that they want to push it out a little bit. So, at least for tonight, to get a flavor if you're open to the idea, I guess that's.
Yeah, so is it just pushing it out, or might it be a change to the satisfying the affordable?
No, just pushing out the
Just pushing it
delivery.
out, okay.
No, there will be a unit within.
There will be, okay.
There will be a unit within the development.
Okay. And they're all duplexes?
They're all duplexes.
So
Yeah.
when we had this issue before about making a duplex that half of it looked, or remember there was,
Well, the good thing about this is they're gonna vary up the architectural design, but really from the outside, you're not gonna know the difference.
okay,
If you invite it into the person's home when they occupy it, you'll maybe get a flavor, but maybe not,
Yeah.
That's up to these.
Okay.
But certainly from the outside, you're not gonna be able to tell. It's gonna be a little vary in architecture, but it's not, not gonna be distinguishable amongst the other ones, so.
and what's when you say move it out a little, any thought on where it's moving from, unit number 9 to where in the cycle? 16, out of 29, how many?
19?
19. Oh, all right, I got it.
Yeah.
18.
Because they're all duplexes.
Total 18.
I don't know why I came up with 19, sorry. 18,
So 9 to 16.
not divisible by 2,
Nine times
yeah.
two?
Yeah, 9 times 2.
And if you could grab a microphone so that people could hear you, what the intent is in delaying.
Yeah, so if you can, so the microphone on the table there, it's everybody at home to hear, not in the room? Which one you want?
Just curious on the intent
delivery?
of delivering it later as opposed to earlier.
Financing.
Okay, so as you,
Help from underneath our financing, so we don't have to come up with a lot of extra cash to give it to you.
So it's a total of 18 units. They're looking to push back the affordable from unit 9 to 16.
Yep. Do you wanna, then we can go through the, wanna go through the marketing one first? Is that one,
Sure, whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, the marketing is, as you see it, we just changed the design. The town approved from a 2-bedroom unit septic system to a 3. So we put a 3rd bedroom up into the loft.
Okay.
And we've stayed within the same footprint that we were allowed to stay in. So basically, we just modified the interior to make it more livable. And it's a 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath unit now instead of a 2.5. And the 3rd bedroom we moved up into the loft.
Is there a loft view?
floor plan or?
Yeah.
There should be.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
so each bedroom has its own bath,
Correct.
and then there's a half bath on the first floor.
Yes.
So does it satisfy two forms of, there's no, you just have a window, so you're a little bit higher off the ground, 2 forms of egress. Does it work being on the 3rd floor? 2 forms of egress, I'm just not sure.
It's 2 means of egress, it's,
Case of fire.
well, it's a window.
You got a window and stairs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're up on the 10th floor, I know it doesn't work. I'm just asking where it does change. And
I don't know from a code standpoint.
Okay.
I don't know answer to that question.
Yeah, I know they have rollout ladders that, But once you get to third floor, I'm just not sure, so I'm asking. If you guys know, you could enlighten me.
I don't know the answer to that, but
Okay.
we'll find out.
Okay.
Can you show the first floor again?
Sure.
I was just wondering if you couldn't perhaps swap the bulkheads and the decks, put the decks on the outside, give the owners just a little more privacy than being right next to each other. Just a thought.
Yep, as long as it fits within the buildable envelope.
Yeah, as long as it fits within the envelope,
I mean, that just exposes you to the other deck on the other side of the unit, then it's next to you, depending on how they're laid out, so it's either you're really cozy with the neighbor that's sharing the structure with you, or you're really cozy with the neighbor across the aisle from you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm neither here nor there on it.
Yeah.
Personally. I like the fact that the shared walls are, separate from a living perspective. It's, not common that you're going to hear the other side based on the way the layouts are. A very creative use of stairwells and closets.
Nice pickup. Do you want to see the switch to the materials? Just
And the intent on the third bedroom was just from a price perspective. You get to increase the price.
Yeah, and market better.
Yeah.
Even if you used it as an office on the building, or just
Right.
gives you that space. The products that we're changing to are the same as the products that we presented in the original. It's just a different manufacturer. It's a manufacturer with a lumber company that we deal with. During COVID, it's getting more and more difficult to get products, period. So it's, we're using a Wolf decking product and railing product for the outside. We're using the same GAF shingles. We're using a mitten vinyl siding instead of a Certainteed or whatever was presented. It's the same product, although colors are limited, so we chose 5 colors. We're doing a subdivision right now in Foxborough, and we're taking the 5 most popular colors that people are choosing there, which seem to be in line with what people are choosing nowadays, which are dark blues and mostly grays and green, like a colonial green, and a dark brown. It's almost a blackish look, which is popular. And we mix that throughout the project from unit to unit. But they all have like a grayish hue background, so when we put them together, they're all going to blend well together. And we're just doing black roofs throughout the building.
And for the most part, it's composite decking and
Yeah, it's composite decking, it's vinyl boards, trims, it's all this stuff, but we're just using different product names because different lumber
Right,
companies.
and then
stock
traditional
different
asphalt
products.
roofing.
Availability is a definite issue.
So this is, in terms of the materials, what I propose to them, the next step is the November meeting, we would just prepare at least a minor modification for the materials, get that incorporated into the record, and then also have the, I'll change, we'll take care of number 2, which will just say it's gonna be ownership and delivery on the documents on the HOA.
Right.
And then we'll think about what you want in terms of, how to handle the occupancy. Because I know the building department, they would want to see a full occupancy, so each unit gets a full occupancy. We're not dealing with temporaries. So we want to have a system to phase the development, but each unit has its full occupancy permit, not temporaries. So we'll have to come up with something that I can give to the board. And then
Yeah, no, it would be normal occupancy. We'd have to have pavement down to binder. We'd have to have functional drainage systems, the water
Yeah.
all installed. Everything has to be functional. The lighting, the street lighting would be in. Everything would be done. So, live there without any problems.
It'd be just the finishes, like the top coat of asphalt, maybe, and some curbing in areas, and,
selective landscape and whatnot.
Yeah, depending on where the sidewalks, if we're gonna actually
Yeah.
water, we're just gonna put down some kind of base until we get to the spring. And we don't see occupancies until the spring anyway, so most of that is not really an issue.
But we'll put it into the decision now. In terms of, we could, if you wanted to, I could have them submit the application, turn the modification to advertise for the change in the affordable for November. I think we can do it by 8th.
Because that'd have to be a public hearing, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a public hearing. So,
Rich?
yes.
If this were a different type of development with multi-lots, the board has been working recently with one of our members to create a set of expectations before we release lots as to what we expect the developer to do for us with utilities and as-built plans of utilities, et cetera. I think it's appropriate to adapt that set of draft proposals for this project and make sure that we pass that along to them so there's no surprises when they go to ask for a building permit for the first duplex building, that we say, oh, wait a minute, you really need to provide us with X, Y, and Z. They should know that up front.
Good call out.
Yeah, it's more on the occupancy side of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it's not occupancy, it's building.
No lot release.
Well, we have in terms of this permit, it already has the conditions for the building permit in it. So they're.
So those conditions comply with our new set of requirements?
Probably not.
No.
But we could,
But it's really.
it would be at the occupant. I think it's
really more the occupancy.
in this
though.
situation, Walter, I think it would have to be the occupancy just because the project is, but
We'll see.
we can,
Okay, fair enough. I would ask Rich to research that for us.
Yeah.
So that we can discuss it at our next meeting.
Yeah, so the things we're talking about is drainage, curbing, those kind of things, so.
Utilities, get the utilities in and I'll give us a set of as-built plans for those utilities before the first building is allowed to be put up. For example.
In relationship to bond reduction.
Yep. I know what he's after, I can.
It's things that would typically get buttoned up towards the end of the project that we've got bitten on in the past, and so it's just protection for ourselves going forward, that it happens earlier in the process as opposed to later.
Yeah, this is more about, related to subdivision, we're trying to adapt to blend it, I guess you'd say.
Right, and I mean, typically before an occupancy in any of these, the utilities are all in, because unless you have a water feed or a sewer feed to a building, you're not gonna get them an occupancy in the building anyways.
Right.
And all that, I mean, it all needs to be in and acceptable.
Yeah, and actually, Walter, I think it really does tie into 29, actually, in lots of ways. I understand the intent.
Okay, well, we can deal with it and offline and bring it back to the board next time. Thanks.
Yes.
Yep.
What's your anticipation around the cycle, start to finish for the development, just duration-wise?
We were planning like next, getting going in, the next month or so and finishing it by the end of next year. Now, whether we get the final asphalt down or we have to go into the spring of the next year, but we plan on doing it next year.
A lot of our pain in the past has been because developments of start to finish might have been 10 years. And you kind of lose sight of what happens with a bond at the onset to the finish. So many of the changes we're proposing putting in place, they don't all affect you, but it's more just for projects that, again, the duration would be far more than what you're currently proposing. So I don't even think it would have much impact in a 1 year, 1.5 year project.
No, I agree.
And we're finishing 19 units right now in Foxborough. It took us about a year and a half.
What occurred with the affordable unit for that project?
What's that?
What occurred for the affordable
There is
unit?
no-
for
there
that
is
project?
none.
Okay. Is that because it wasn't required, or because it was a payment in lieu?
Wasn't
Not
required.
Okay.
And then I'll have a... No, you have to go.
Okay.
All right, so I think you gotta, oh, so the name, right? So,
Foxborough is compliant, by the way, though, right? They're one of the towns in the Commonwealth that comply.
they above 10%? Yeah, I think they
10%,
are.
which is probably why they're not doing
Right. Yeah, no, they met their... They did, I don't know if it changed with the new census, but, yeah. You were looking for input on the names, right? Is that sort of what you were thinking, or no, or just...
I like Pine Ridge.
Have you met with any of the residents of Pondville? They are very attached to the name Pondville. Just a heads up.
Or you can call it Pond Heights. We just wanted to change it from Pondville, that's all.
on view.
Well, you have Pond Village at Norfolk.
There you go.
Walter, do you have any comment on the name?
Well, just to reinforce what Gary said, there's one person down there who's a sponsor of the area, and she's extremely vocal about Pondville, and well, just that. I mean, it's obviously it's your project. You can propose whatever name you choose, but just be aware the neighbors are really supportive of Pondville. Or Pondville Heights, or anything with the name Pondville in it. Pondville Medical Center, for example.
On something.
I do see a hand up, so I don't know.
Oh, I don't see it on the screen.
Yeah, Bonnie, do you have a question?
I do. I am one of those Pondville residents and fans. I was wondering why the desire to shift away from using Pondville.
We just felt it was a better marketing term if we could change it to a different name, that's all.
Why?
I don't know, personally, I guess I think it would sell better with a different name. That's just my opinion.
There's nothing wrong with Pondville.
Yeah, I don't love heights, honestly. To me, that kind of doesn't have a great connotation. But I mean, I don't know who gets to decide this, but yes, we in Pondville are very attached to Pondville, and a lot of the things in that neighborhood are sort of consistent with that naming convention.
Or Pondville Ridge. Or Pondville Village.
How about just Pond Village at Norfolk? What do you think about that one, Bonnie?
It's a compromise, sure.
You said Pond Village, what he has.
Pond Village.
I don't know what that is.
At Norfolk?
Well, that's one of the choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of, this is, I did look it up. There isn't anything in the regulations in terms of naming of developments.
Well, because the name was, last name was Pond, wasn't it? Is that how Pondville came about? The family last name was Pond?
It's a good assumption. That happens. in a lot
It
of
happens
places.
quite often,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where's Betsy Whitney tonight when we need her?
I know she's not available tonight, she said, so.
Donna Jones has her hand up. Donna?
Oh, I was just gonna add to that any developer in that area should read, or at least be aware of Betsy Whitney's book about Pondville. And yes, it is related to a family named Pond.
So,
Thank you.
so Pond Village in Norfolk would work.
Pond Village?
Compromise.
Pond Village in Norfolk, yeah. They are aware of the book.
Yeah, you've been made aware.
They've been made aware.
I have a copy in my office
And I can assure you that equally been made aware of the strong connection to the Pondville as well. But, so there, actually, that's interesting from the book. Pond Village in Norfolk.
Yeah, the village at Pondville, right, who knows?
So Pond Village in Norfolk?
Pond Village in Norfolk?
Sure. So to get into the weeds of it, there is nothing in the regulations improving the name. It's really presented by the developers.
Nor should there be, yes.
No. So the only thing the board gets into as we regulate was street names, that kind of thing. But it has.
So it sounds like the consensus in this room and remotely, and people on the Zoom, would be the Pond Village.
Okay.
As a recommendation.
Yes.
Purely a recommendation.
All right.
I got your email about the street numbers. I'll touch base with you tomorrow.
I think that covers it for this topic for tonight. This was any other
We do still have a couple hands up. I'm not sure if you meant to, if you had additional questions or. Nope. Okay. All right. Easy enough.
Sorry, no, I'm not used to the hand raised.
That's fine. That's why I asked.
All right.
Thank you for your input. We appreciate it.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. I will recap it for you if you like, offline, or you think you understand what's next.
No, I think we understand.
All right.
We'd just like to get down to, honestly, I'd like to just figure out what requirements are gonna be to be able to get building permits. Because,
You've met them.
okay.
Because the conditions in the permit are the ones that you need
For
to
the
meet.
special permit.
And then the rest of it
Okay.
we'll define by occupancy, which I think would be just standard, everything has to be functional and, or an occupancy permit to let someone live there.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much. It's nice
Appreciate it.
meeting you all. Thank you for your time.
Likewise,
Thank you. So, wow, Betsy.
Tell us how you feel.
So the next is the zoning bylaw recodification. No?
Can we skip to, I see Ron Bonvy is here.
Okay, yep.
So maybe we
Yeah.
can, hi Ron.
Yes, we could do that. So this is the
Yeah.
Fall Town Meeting, street acceptance for Fredericton Road and Oakview Trail. Oh, that's right.
Just temporarily.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So Chris is recusing himself. He lives on Fredericton Road. He's quite a ways away, but just to be consistent, he's recusing himself regarding the street acceptance on Fredericton Road and Oakview Trail. Okay, so as I sit this evening, there are a few things left to be done, but Ron is well aware of them. One is a dead street tree needs to be replaced. I believe you said, Wednesday or Thursday, Ron, this week?
That's correct.
Okay. I did get an email and a voicemail from the engineer. The iron pipes will be installed tomorrow for the drainage easement in the open space. So those do need to be installed. There is concrete bounds that need to be installed yet. However, the sidewalk needs to be just peeled back. It's a little bit over outside the layout. So they're gonna remove the asphalt that's outside the layout. Once they do that, then they can put the bounds in because they're on the edge of on the layout. So those will happen. When's the paver coming? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, A1 is supposed to go back, cut back the sidewalk a bit, and at the same time they're installing the metal pipe. They should be able to install those tree bounds. That call was made to me, by the way, Thursday. I was not aware. In this subdivision, the sidewalk on Oakview, which is the only place the sidewalk is located on the plan, is right up to the property line.
So we discussed that the best path forward, I think, was to just cut the sidewalk back, not have it on the private property. So
I talked to my conveyance attorney. We would probably have a right to leave it there because the deeds included some language. But in speaking to Richard on Thursday, when I found this out from my surveyor, I didn't think it made sense, and neither did Richard, to try and prove that scenario. It's better to just deal with the sidewalk and just fix the problem instead of trying to create a new problem by trying to alleviate this problem and just continuing with bleeding. Then just get it done and fix it, period.
So those are the outstanding items. I know the select board does have a meeting next Tuesday evening to recommend the layout of both Frederickson Road and Oakview Trail. So for this evening, what you would only be able to entertain would be a conditional recommendation, because there are some outstanding issues. From the sounds of things, it should be all done prior to October 19th, so next Tuesday. And so
They will be done before next Tuesday.
It will be done. You heard him.
They will be done.
So you could make, so the recommendation would be a conditional recommendation to accept it with those things being done to the select board.
Okay.
Unless you have any objection to that recommendation.
Any comments?
Sounds right to me.
From the board?
Okay.
I mean, I think it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
No
just
doubt.
we're in the home stretch. There's a couple things left to finish, and if we can get that done, yeah. Okay. So
Do we need to state the conditions?
Yeah, so state those, if you could restate.
So I'd make a motion to accept the Frederickson Road extension and Oakview Trail extension with the following conditions to be completed prior to October 19th. Replacing the dead tree mentioned earlier in this meeting, addressing the drainage easement, removing excess asphalt to install the bounds. Is there anything else?
I don't understand the drainage easement.
That was,
It's just iron pipes.
You mean the iron bounds for the depiction of the open space?
Yeah, I don't know if the drainage ones are in either, I think, from talking to.
Well, how about all iron pipes
There you go.
that are shown on the plan?
Yes.
replace all iron pipes, is this?
Install.
Install all iron pipes. Do you want me to restate, or are we just correcting that from drainage easement to install iron pipes? I can restate.
Yeah, I would restate
Okay,
it.
here we go.
Install iron pipes for
Sure.
the drainage easement and open space as shown on the approved subdivision plan.
Did you get that? Betsy? Good. And that, those are the three conditions, am I correct? Or are there any additional conditions?
Tree, iron pipes, sidewalk, and then the concrete bounds for the side.
The bounds are in, he just has to put the drill holes in, he's putting them in tomorrow.
Okay.
But the drill holes need to be added.
Where the sidewalk is?
Well, need to be added into the bounds, is what you're saying.
Oh, I see. You're talking about the three bounds once the sidewalk is, yes, you are correct. I'm sorry, Richard. 3 bounds have to be added.
So maybe just say complete all bounds.
There you go.
Perfect. That's perfect.
A little more concise, huh?
Just wraps it all up.
Nice.
Gary, a friendly amendment to the front end of your motion, to add the words recommend to the selectmen acceptance as opposed to just straight acceptance.
Okay. Am I actually restating this? Wow. Good luck, Gary. Make a motion to recommend to the selectmen the acceptance
Select
of...
board, sorry, select board.
Select board.
My bad.
Make a recommendation. I make a motion to recommend to the select board the acceptance of Frederickson Road Extension and Oakview Trail Extension with the following, the completion, conditional upon the completion of the following 3 outstanding tasks. Replacing the dead tree, installing iron pipes, and removing excess asphalt to install the bounds, or completion of all bounds, all to be completed prior to October 19th. Am I anywhere
second that.
close?
He seconded. Yeah, I think you got it. All right.
Thanks.
Second on the vote? You want to do roll call?
Yeah, we'll do a roll call vote. Walter?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay.
All right. So the last things I can probably move
Chris
through
back in.
pretty
Yep.
quickly.
Chris?
Chris, you can come on back.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I did put in the meeting packet, the manuscript in terms of a recodification. So that manuscript covers general bylaw recodification as well as zoning. I bring it to your attention because you will need to hold a public hearing on that.
Okay.
And essentially the idea is it's a reorganization of the bylaws in terms of where the order they follow.
Is this the project that like Anthony Drury spearheaded before?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, right, so I have some familiarity with this through, town government study committee.
Okay, that's exactly the project itself. Yeah, so.
What's the main purpose behind doing this?
The main purpose is there are some consistency within the bylaw, so, instead of, some case you might call the position building inspector instead of building commissioner, or you might have occupancy permit or no occupancy permit.
There's also conflicts and things
There's
like that.
conflicts,
Like just
yeah.
making sure everything is as tight as possible so that no bylaw intentionally or unintentionally conflicts with another bylaw, clears up some red tape, keeps us out of more litigation, etc. So.
And also, then it becomes a searchable document. So E-code is the company that towns use to.
Really?
Yes.
Now you
get more excited, right?
Well, no, I get it.
So am I, actually.
So now I understand.
Quite frankly, yes.
So it's all about maintaining. It's trying to get that consistent language, so you're always using the same term throughout all the bylaws, and like Gary had said, is to minimize or eliminate all conflicts that have arisen over the years with us making changes and modifications.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll reorganize things in a different fashion. I don't need to go into detail.
I get it. I just was. That's enough. That satisfies my question.
Excellent.
Just wanted to find out what was the intent and purpose behind doing it. Okay.
The thing that really sells it is if you ever see this company's output, like on other town websites, like it's not just searchable. It's crazy amounts of searchable. It's very clean UI. You just kind of type in whatever you want. It says, oh, that word appears here, here, and here. And yeah, it's really, really
Oh yeah, I'm trying to be quick, but
sorry.
Go.
Yeah.
But that's all right. No, he's right. It's a leap.
I get
really
energized
does.
about certain things.
No.
Notification of laws happens to be one of them.
Make sure the minutes reflect that, please.
Yeah, put a little extra emphasis there. In terms of solar project, so the select board did, actually no, it was through the town administrator, but letter of intent to award a lease for ground array project at 12 Sharon Ave, which is on the water tank property behind the police station. The lease would be going to town meeting, so it's subject to town meeting approval of the lease, but that project will be moving forward, which then in turn will be back to you for permitting.
And now that's just a similar solar project to what we have at the transfer station now?
Yeah, exactly, yep. Okay. And the slight variation is that there'll be a
substation.
Norfolk arrays part of this, but they're also private property too. There's a property on Pond Street that the next grid is purchasing. It's almost purchased or they're there too. It's close, and so combined. So that's.
So the town would be leasing the land, and then the town.
They're doing a lease from us. They're leasing, and then there's payments.
Well, that's fine. I just said it incorrectly, but so what does the town get out of it? I mean, is the town receiving revenue from the solar project or just from the lease, or both?
town is getting minimum payment of $44,000 per year with a 3% escalator, and then the parties will execute a power purchase agreement that provides the lessor with at least 0.015 discount on energy. So it's discount on energy too.
Right.
Okay.
So that's
So that's energy that we consume.
It's municipal, yeah, you know, so schools, whatever.
Yeah, schools, streetlights.
Is that to our benefit, though? I mean,
Changeable message
with the
signs.
array that we currently have, are we outpacing it? The generation?
Yeah, we're over that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay.
And actually, I think it adds on top of that one too. I'll get somebody when the time comes to give you more nuances to that. I'm not as familiar with it.
Okay.
So we have the wastewater treatment plant discussion October 28th. Tomorrow night, I'm going before the Conservation Commission with the Park and Rec to discuss Park and Rec utilizing the conservation property behind Freeman Kennedy to construct and install a soccer field. If there's support from the Conservation Commission for that, what that would then do will provide the window for us to explore the rec fields further for the leach field, for the wastewater treatment plant. And then if all that went through in the end, then there'll be a plus side of fields for recreation. This would be to offset the loss interim-wise and then be an added field in the end.
We would be looking at adding a field, but consuming 2 for the time being?
So they would be building a new field.
One new field.
One new field where the conservation property would be.
Right, and then we would be using the fields behind Freeman Kennedy, but are we using 1 field or 2 fields there?
We don't know yet on the size of we don't know the full imprint yet of that, because we have to you have to go to the next phase would be to explore getting a groundwater discharge permit from the DEP and also meeting the Board of Health regulations, so we don't know that full.
Okay.
But all the fields will be intact. It's an extra field you're building to take down a field at a time.
And then you'll get a new field on top in the end.
You'll have an extra field.
Okay, so we wouldn't have to rip out 2 fields at a time?
No,
Just rip out
right.
1 field, have
So
the other field, okay.
The way we're at least initially trying to plan this out is that, at least in my head, we talked about this, is the soccer field would be able to be constructed, installed, growing, so it goes operational before we, if the project would decommission the field. We will have a phase which I think we need to look at repairing that field though too. So there's
Right.
because the optimal time to do the wastewater, high groundwaters in the spring. So there's some more to it, but that's a big piece of it. So if they're not supportive of that, then I've got to kind of discuss what we're incurring, rebooting.
Yeah, I'm just concerned we're going to them with a partial understanding of what has to happen and not completely sure of how many fields we're taking offline at a time.
To conservation, you mean, or? Yeah. Park and Rec is only looking to do a field there, not more than a field. So there's really probably the conversation might be back to Park and Recreation, I guess, if we took out more than one field.
Because at some point in time, we're going to be out more fields than we originally had.
It's possible that you could be down, you could be minus 2 fields, but if that other field was completed and ready for use and you took out 2 other fields, you're really only down 1, but you're, so I guess in theory, I'm oversimplifying it, but
well, it also depends on the geology too, right? And the hydrology there, it could be. It could be more expansive, the need for the area to put in, at least they've identified 50,000 gallons a day as the potential for that flow. But the full footprint of that, we don't know yet until we get into the study.
Best case scenario would be you build a new field, you take a field offline, while you repair it. So the new field, the additional field that would be just delayed just by the whole process of putting in the leach fields.
Right.
And then I guess worst case scenario is we build a new field, we make it accessible, but we'd have to take more than one field offline, for a season or whatever it is while we do the.
I just know how hard it was when we had to take field B off during the spring to repair that one. We were pretty tight on fields to begin with.
I don't know if we know all the answers to it yet.
Yeah.
But,
I could clearly tell you I don't know. No, because I mean,
yeah, I'm with you. It's a complex project. I mean,
yes,
without understanding, the groundwater study is going to tell us a lot, obviously.
But I can say this, at least initially, right? So if the conservation's like, no, that tells us a little bit more, right? So,
right.
It's just, the timing is unfortunate, because I think if we were able to go after the groundwater study and propose then, we'd have more answers to provide them at that point. Give them a better sense of feeling that they'd have the fields that they need while this was undergoing.
yeah, the problem, I understand.
Yeah.
The challenge, the tricky part of that, to get to that, it's quite a big investment in study and analysis and money, so.
You want to make sure it's worthwhile.
My question would be, all these costs, like even building the extra field, that's all that all gets back to benefits to the B1. And the wastewater in the area of the B1 or the select area of B1 was to be funded through betterment. Do you roll up all these costs forward? Anything we do? Does it go against taxpayers, or are we rolling it forward, getting some total cost, and that's the betterment fee that gets assessed to the people that live in
So we actually,
businesses?
the finance model of this is betterment plus grants, though. It's not.
Betterment plus grant.
Yeah. So it's not, I don't think there's a reach of a statement to say it's not financially viable with just betterment. Yeah, it would be cost prohibitive.
But for the additional field, that's coming out of rec, isn't it?
I don't know if that's coming out. It might be asked of CPC. I'm not sure. I don't know where it's coming out. To answer that, but I don't know. Maybe it's not CPC. Maybe they have the money. I don't know.
No, sorry.
I don't know the finance end of that,
Okay. Yeah.
but I do. But so it's betterment and
grants. Okay.
and grants. So that's the two pieces of the puzzle.
Okay. Good.
And then the wastewater, that's on the 28th, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Moving right along.
Yeah, move that along. And then, last not least, Southwood Hospital, just briefly in terms of, so I was on site during the site inspection from the Department of Public Health that was held on September 14th.
So was the current owner as well. So
Current owners were on site, yep. There was members from the Department of Environmental Protection through the gas contingency plan. They were on site as well. They took readings of alpha, beta, gamma, I guess. Blown up my science, a little bit dated, but
No representative from the citizen PIP group, right?
no, they weren't allowed. Declined the owner, and then it ended up being narrowed down. Originally, the request was for a Board of Health member, but it ended up landing just as a staff member for now. The nuance to it is you got a 3-member Board of Health, and so in terms of having a health member out there, the decision was, at least for this
I
start.
can't remember the gentleman on board, I've got his name right now. It's his first year. In any case, though,
Andy Baganowski.
Thank you. And he's been reporting out monthly to the Board of Health.
Yes,
I sit in
yep.
the back of the room, so.
Yep.
But he's very knowledgeable, what went on that day. So, but you're saying he wasn't there?
He wasn't there, no.
Okay.
A lot of knowledge he does have. The It's actually on the website too.
Historical?
Yeah, they upload, and he's has a lot of knowledge about that site in general. Like
Yes.
he, so he has a
Okay, so that's probably.
well-versed background. He's been on that property, so he has his own existing knowledge base from it. But for now, but the Board of Health did discuss at their last meeting is bringing town council to a future meeting, discuss their role and responsibility. So just for the first one out of the gate, let's just keep board members out of it, and then we can convene a conversation with town council and then see where to go from there. Because it's easier to take a more conservative approach and not have to pull things back, and we might have made a misstep there. So that was the idea. I mean, there was high reading, so that there was. They did fence off an area and post it, but there does need to be additional posting out there. And there is people who, they're college kids that
I've been using the site
I've been
and
using
posting the videos.
They're posting the video. The video is down. The video was forwarded. I forwarded it to the police department. They contacted the video with the car. There was cars in the video. So they ran the license plates and then called some parents whose cars were in the video, and then they were college kids. They weren't, yeah, I guess they're still formative years, but not the smartest thing to be doing. So anyway, that video has been removed from YouTube. It was publicly available now, but there are other videos out there. If you go to Google Pondville Hospital, there are others. So it does need to be a little bit more secure over there, because these kids were in the hospital. They were in the building, and they were in the building. They were hanging out, sitting on the vestibule wall, and then they were down inside the water tank. Then they were up on the roof looking over the edge. So
That's scary.
yeah. So
Never did that though? Like,
Huh?
water tower climbs? No, it's not a...
Not
What's
that
that?
you'd admit on public record.
listen, I might have done.
I'm 42. That was a long time ago. Water under the bridge.
What I did wasn't on video.
Yeah.
There was no social media.
No, yeah, it's a little disconnect. Oh yeah, let's just broadcast around the world things we shouldn't be doing. But anyway, so
So bottom line is, needs to be more secure.
it needs to be more secure. It needs to be more signage there, just from a trespass standpoint.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're working towards the next step will be to get a meeting. Like I said, have town council meet with the Board of Health and kind of figure out. They are behind in deliverables in terms of they haven't responded to our comments, the PIP group's comments. So GFI, yeah, they're licensed site professional. They need to get cracking. They were advised on site they're missing deadlines. They need to get cracking. So hopefully they're taking that to heart.
But nothing's happened at the state legislature level.
No.
Okay.
That's a wrap. And the next meeting is November 8th.
We got meeting minutes to
We have minutes to
Oh, minutes,
approve?
sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's
Don't we have minutes to
Yep.
approve, folks?
Yep.
Walter, I got your comments on that. I'll make that amendment to the minutes.
Yeah,
So we need a motion to approve the minutes for our September 14th, 2021,
Yeah, as amended.
as amended,
Walter's comments.
with Walter's comments.
so moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Walter?
aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we are good with the minutes. That is approved. Any other updates, Rich?
Anything more?
Okay, next meeting's out of our normal, it's kind of off our normal schedule.
Yeah, it's off
Monday,
because town meeting is Tuesday.
Right. And where is town meeting again? Is it at the middle school? Okay. Okay. So town meeting is November 9th at the middle school, and we will have our meeting here on Monday,
Yeah.
November 8th.
Do you see a need to post yourselves for town meeting at all, that you would need to meet as a body, you think? And we can post it just for that night. Probably will.
What do you mean?
So you need, you know, in terms of discussion as a board, town meeting. Discuss.
What have we got to discuss, Rich, except the two bylaw changes, right?
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Well, we could just post it just to be,
Is
we don't have to if you don't want to. It's easier to post and not have any discussion than
Is
not be
anything-
posted.
Are your
Point.
changes going to the advisory board before the town meeting? Can we do that?
Yes.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they, I thought they had them when I was there last week, but they didn't have the full text of them.
Okay.
So I sent it off today to their administrative assistant to forward to them.
Okay.
So they would typically present them?
Yeah, they'll vote, they are voting tomorrow night, unfortunately, I have a conservation meeting, otherwise they'll, back.
Okay.
All right.
So, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Just
Walter, it's nice to see you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Great.
meeting adjourned.
Walter, we'll see you in person soon.
Keep on recovering.